Happy Saturday afternoon, everyone out there in fantasy land. Say our name, and we appear, we are, and believe in Woo Fantasy. And actually, for the first time, actually going to be brought to you by Fantasy Cares. That's right, we are streaming live through the Fantasy Cares YouTube channel today. Thanks in large part to those guys out there at Fantasy Cares. Also on our YouTube page at Woo Fantasy as well. But here we are live, ladies and gentlemen, at Tailgate Brewery, Music Row, downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Scott Fishbowl 14 alongside my co-host in person, Mr. Nick Hefley. How are we doing today, sir?
It's about the only way I can make it on a podcast these days if I do it live with you, right?
Exactly. That's the best way to do it. Get him away from the children so he can come on and do a podcast. But
hi, kids.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually going to we've gotten started. Things are underway here at Tailgate Brewery. I am on the clock. So we're going to go ahead and switch to the new view here and show the boards. We've got today, it's going to be the Goose Division that I am in at the 2 spot here with Scott Fishbowl 14. I'm going to look at what we got here. So I am in the Goose Division, like I mentioned. Number 2 spot, I'm on the board right now. Josh Allen goes right in front of me. Then also,
you go with who
we have as well. I'm going to bring it up real quick too. The Marcellus Wallace Division. We have Christian McCaffrey off the board, followed by Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen.
I'm sitting pick 9, just keep my fingers crossed here.
So we're going to keep up with everything and cover this draft through the live process here. But with my pick here at the 2 spot, yes, I've talked about it for like the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I figured Josh Allen was going to come off the board in this pick. I'm swinging for the fences, ladies and gentlemen, with this pick here.
Jameis Winston.
And we're going to go with Anthony Richardson at the 2 spot here. The 1-2 pick is going to be Anthony Richardson here for me. Swinging for upside with this scoring format here. Like what he brings to the table. We've talked about it on the quarterback show that we did on Woo Fantasy just a couple of weeks ago. We got Travis May. Travis May hosting the event, so make sure to go give a good shout out to him as well. So that's Travis May Fantasy Football. Love it there, Mr. Scampers, fellow 2 spot. I agree with you there. We got everybody chiming into the chat here. Want to say give a good shout out to everybody.
We will need the luck.
Yeah.
You will need the luck from that Anthony Richardson pick, I feel like.
Anthony Richardson.
Keeping my fingers crossed that he'll make it to me at 9 at this rate.
There is a good chance that this is going to have Anthony Richardson fall to you at the 9 spot in your division. So, of course, we've talked about it ad nauseum kind of coming into this draft. Scott Fish Bowl, big charity tournament that's put on by Scott Fish himself. Fantasy Cares is the donation site that you go to if you want to put in and pitch in for the donations for this. Also, I put it on my Twitter account, Roto Superstar. Go out and check that out. I am running the challenge that I started a few days ago. For every 5 new subscribers to the YouTube page, for Woo Fantasy's YouTube page, I am going to donate $1 to Fantasy Cares for this event. So at the end of this live stream, I'll tally it all up, see how many new subscribers that we have accrued to the Woo Fantasy YouTube page, and we'll pop that in. So put that on, check it out, and hopefully all this money we're going to raise for Fantasy Cares is for a great cause. So go on, definitely donate to them today. Scott Fish Bowl.
Donations.
That's right. Donations. So looking at the board there, first 3 picks in line. As you can see on the board, we've gone quarterback heavy, obviously. It's super flex format. Different kind of a roster build this year. Obviously, you're going to go 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end. Sleeper drafts, which are the live drafts. You're going to draft a kicker, 5 normal flex spots, and a super flex spot in this draft as well. So it's kind of a different way to look at how you're going to build your rosters, as you've seen throughout the week with the slow drafts of Scott Fishbowl starting on Monday this past week. We've seen all kinds of new builds out there, bully tight end builds. We've seen those out there, people attacking the tight end premium scoring setup. That's been out there. Flipping over to the Marcellus Wallace division, I wanted to look at it. So McCaffrey off the board with the first pick in Marcellus Wallace, followed by the quarterback run. Hurts, Allen, Jackson, Mahomes.
We're still in the middle of
Richardson at the 7 spot there.
And then C.J. Stroud just went here.
C.J. Stroud just went off the board there. So how do you feel? You're at the 9 spot. You've got 6 straight quarterbacks that's gone off the board right in front of you to this point.
I mean, I don't think I'm going quarterback again. No, I think any one of those quarterbacks, if they had fallen, would kind of have been my pick there. I got a couple running back targets that I think I'm targeting with this 9th pick right here. That's kind of how the boards fell off. So, yeah, I don't think there's a quarterback worthy of this pick right here. So I'm probably getting ready to go one of the 2, either Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson.
Which, with that scoring format, we've talked about it. We talked about it on the podcast earlier this week too. Although, the PPR setup for the running backs is a little bit dialed back in the scoring format, you do get the added bonuses of the points per rush attempt, points per first down. So you're getting a little bit of an added boost with guys that are bell cow running backs, which are obviously few and far between.
I agree, Seth. All right, Seth Gordon, who would you go?
Well, let's hear it.
I know where
let's hear it
if he gets to.
Let's hear it, Seth Gordon. Who would you go at the 9 spot between Bijan or Hall if both are available at that draft spot? Let's hear it. So,
well, it's an easy selection for me.
Breece Hall just went off the board, so obviously that
was who I wanted to get anyway, was Bijan. So perfect.
Narrows it down to Bijan Robinson there for young Nick Hefley, making his first pick in Scott Fishbowl 14, taking Bijan Robinson. So want to go back, flip back over to Goose Division here. Quarterback run stops after Hurts at pick 4. Christian McCaffrey finally comes off the board, so we're at pick 7 here in this division, or at pick 6 in the first round. But let me know out there, everyone following on the Fantasy Cares YouTube, or Blue Fantasy YouTube as well. Let me know what kind of feeling do you have through your Scott Fishbowl so far? We're a week in with a lot of these slow drafts. Obviously, a lot of the live drafts are kind of falling to their end paces at this point in time. Shoot us some comments in there. Let us know what your thought process was. How do you feel about your team? How did the draft come together for you? I want to kind of hear everybody's thoughts out there. So kind of shoot those comments into us as well. But obviously, it's a big, busy day when we're doing these Scott Fishbowl drafts. I've done this live draft, live podcast, live stream over the last couple of years now. We did the live stream down in Atlanta the last 2 years.
I actually get to join you a little bit more often this year.
Right, yeah.
I'm not running things.
He's not running things like Travis is today. Travis May's out kind of handling the crowd.
Seth, we're right there with you, man. It was Bijan all day if he made it.
We appreciate that, Seth, too, as well. Great coverage of the draft. That's what I love to hear. We need positive affirmations out there.
Scampers, where are you? What live division are you in?
Yeah, Mr. Scampers. Let me hear that. Mr. Scampers, too. Famously, I've seen you pop in the chats on the Fantasy Cheat Sheet, which is hosted by my good friend Laquan Jones over there at NFL Network, NFL.com. So I've seen him in the chats before over there. And Mr. Scampers is always a good time. Seth Gordon talking about he wanted Bijan at 1-7. but Mahomes was there with the super flex makeup of
Is
that.
that Shrimp Scampers?
Shrimp Scampers? No, that's Mr. Scampers the cat. He is in the LA division one. Kind of felt that one.
Oh, Joella's. No, come on. Hattie B's all day.
Oh, yeah, no. Bill Underwood.
We were just about to go. The line was ridiculous earlier, though. So.
Yeah. So, Fashion Time, Steve Dre. Huge regret not drafting live this year. Lucky enough to be invited again next year. I'll be on location. Definitely. I can't say it enough when it comes to the Scott Fish Bowl. We've done the live draft pretty much every year that they've done these live drafts now. But it's a whole different animal when you do these live drafts. You get to meet everybody. That's the networking, the camaraderie, getting to meet everyone that you talk to them through Twitter, had discussions through your group chats, your pick chats, things like that.
Got to meet some cool people so far.
Right,
so
yeah.
it's nice. Grab a beer or for you a water. And
get a nice water here.
Happy Fish Bowl.
That's right. Happy Fish Bowl day. We got trusty water here. Woo. Love it. It's a great time coming out for these drafts, obviously. So if you have a chance, you've got one near you, or you want to make a little bit of a small drive to one, definitely do it. I think it's a great time to go do that. Bill Underwood said he's Indiana, Ohio. He says gotta go Joe. Gotta go Joe for the hot chicken.
Wait, what?
He said Indiana, Ohio area. Gotta go with Joe hot chicken.
Man, if Joe killed me last year, man. Joe killed me last year.
Let's see here. You need to go through
Although, hey, dare I again though? Do I go year 2 straight?
Could. Going through kind of updating my board as we speak right now, so that way I'm kind of staying on top of the draft as we go along through this. Just staying on top of things through this division here. It's so far kind of fallen the way that I think it would. We've gotten, at this point in time, through the first 9 picks, we've gone 6 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. So
I think that's about standard. I think for most leagues or thereabouts. Mine's all of a sudden starting to go off the rails a little bit.
Feels kind of standard is the way that I'm
Justin Fields, what would you say?
Justin Fields, the kick returner for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Extra points.
24.
Cheat code, round 2.
But, yeah, like he mentioned, it's obviously kind of feels standard in my division so far. As I'm getting my board kind of updated, kind of getting the picks on here on my drafting app so that I'm kind of up to date. I am using the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard today, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've not used that yet, definitely give that one a look-see to check through everything. But coming to the end of the round, coming into round 1, Marcellus Wallace division is into round 2 right now. Kind of the similar setup there. CD Lamb goes as the first wide receiver off the board in this division, as you saw in the Goose division that I'm in. Justin Jefferson was the first pick wide receiver there in that division, followed by Tyreek Hill here. Joe Burrow coming off the board. Kyron Williams, much to be debated about with Kyron Williams. Where you're seeing him coming off the board in a lot of these live drafts as things kind of start to unfold. Kyron Williams is going to be a hot button issue over the course of the next few weeks with him. But Sam Laporta's first tight end off the board here. Again, Marcellus Wallace coming around pick 2 of round 2. How you feeling? Are you targeting Sam Laporta or a tight end there?
I don't think right here. No, I like Sam Laporta this year. I think it's as high as he's going. This early, it's a little early for me to go tight end, so I was not targeting him at this spot.
That's the thing that's going to be kind of something to watch there is how things are going to unfold with the tight end position, especially with that premium scoring. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, you're going to have a lot of bully tight end. That type of a setup, that type of a draft mentality, that bully tight end, something to kind of keep an eye on there, how much some of these guys kind of come off the board.
Both drafts are now officially through the first round. Congratulations. We're going to have a pick on the board. I've been reminding everybody at the tables, but please do take as many pictures.
Got a little bit of a wide receiver run here at the end of round one with Marcellus Wallace with the Goose Division that I'm in. Odd to kind of see, I won't lie about that, because of the scoring format. I think you get into what I'll figure here. You have a lot of that best ball mentality, that best ball draft brain that's kind of coming into a draft like this. A lot of first live drafts with a lot of these guys. And so you're used to seeing your underdog drafts. A lot of the wide receivers coming off the board, left and right, 4, 5, 6 deep to start a draft. Not really the modus operandi that I would say that you want to use for a drafting strategy in this particular draft is to draft wide receivers fairly early, correct?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in a normal draft, I'm hitting wide receiver all day long here. But in this format, it really doesn't make sense. The years that I've done well in Scott Fishbowl, I've waited on wide receiver. I think you see that in a lot of the drafts that we've seen so far. If you wait a little bit on wide receiver, you get some good value down the board. So I'm on the clock right now. I have got a bit of a conundrum right here.
Let's go flip over to your division.
So I'm on the clock. I am tempted to go back to quarterback and go get Kyler Murray, although I still feel a little bad about him from last year. I'm a little butthurt about Kyler Murray from last year, but him with that rushing ability, it may be something I go here. It's really between him and Jonathan Taylor. What do you think? So I figure most of the teams behind me already have one quarterback. Sure. Come back over here, at least one of the teams behind me. So I figure quarterback's going to go there. Rushing ability, he's absolutely got the most rushing ability of the guys right here. I feel good about the running back position here a little bit later, although I love Jonathan Taylor and love him in this format.
Yeah, I think at this point you're going to have, to me, I would attack the running quarterback.
And that's the direction I'm going. So I'm going to go Kyler Murray here.
So he goes Kyler Murray here. He's going to take Kyler Murray at that particular spot there. I think he's in good shape with Bijan at that top spot already. So he's got kind of his hero running back build to a degree.
You might be able to see from where you're sitting, but I actually have a massive bling on my hand. This is the first item that is up for auction today. It's that actually a Scott Fishbowl turkey snack bling with the Scott Fishbowl logo here in the middle. I'll put it back in the box so it doesn't have me all over it. But yeah, so check this out.
Right, so the running back run does stop in the Goose Division, or the wide receiver run finally stops after CeeDee Lamb here. CeeDee Lamb, the fifth wide receiver off the board in this clump here in the Goose Division. Not something you're typically seeing. You're seeing CeeDee Lamb kind of being a lot of guys' number one wide receiver on their boards and in their rankings. It's kind of odd to see that one. But, I mean, you're starting off Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, which is typically the top 1-2 on a lot of people's boards there. Ryan Volt's chiming in. He's drafted Kyler the last 2 years in FFB. Not great. Still made the playoffs both years. Seth Gordon chiming in as well.
Yeah, man, I
would have went Daniels over Kyler there.
You know, I think just when I don't really have a good feel for what Daniels is going to be in the pros. By and large, I don't want him to lead my squad. Now, if he happens to be my number 2 quarterback, all good. But I feel like in this format, you need an absolute solid, minus Kyler getting hurt from last year. But you need a solid quarterback to be able to come in, even your squad out, versus a guy that's going to be a little more up and down, who kind of like Anthony Richardson was last year. You know, Richardson was great when he played.
Yep.
How is Daniels going to hold up? I don't want to find that out for my QB1. I'd much rather find that out for my Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, it's obviously we've talked about it. I've mentioned it on a few podcasts previously. Is Anthony Richardson led the league, obviously in a small sample size, but led the league in points per drop back in 2023 in that small sample size. Puts on weight in the offseason, so we're hoping that that's going to help for the durability concerns.
So he looks like hefty lefty now. He's Jared Williamson now. He's put on some weight. R.I.P.
He's built like Steve McNair from back in the day while we're in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
So I figured I'd throw that one in there. It's a good pick. built like Steve McNair, but obviously could run a little bit better than good McNair could back in the day. So
where are you at right now? So the way you're draft. Let's flip back over to yours. But the way you're draft, Kyler. I was talking with the 9 team in your division about kind of some strategy. We had the same strategy. He just took Kyler at the 9th pick. So for you, are you targeting best player available? Like where are you and what you're targeting?
At this point in time, I am going to kind of come into this pick with more of a mindset of, best player available. I want to see what's there. We're looking at ADP and watching and following along with some of that on, Scott Fishbowl's the Josh ADHD app that's on Fantasy Light. So you kind of get a good idea of where a lot of these guys are playing, coming off the board with some of the ADP that's out there currently right now. There we got it. Jumping into the shot there. Come on in, tell them hi.
Going well, guys.
Going well. How are you doing today? How's everything going?
Driving everybody to donate to Fantasy Cares, I assume. Smart move.
Jump in, told them shoot your donations to the Fantasy Cares. Throw that out there too.
But did you say to the Cincinnati live draft that you're directing everybody to the Cincinnati live draft, right?
Yes. Go to Cincinnati's live draft.
Yes, Cincinnati live draft. Yes, definitely. Yep. Okay.
But
donate to Nashville.
Donate to Nashville. We appreciate that. How you feel so far watching everything unfold with the Nashville draft?
Travis is crushing.
Donate to them all. Donate to Minnesota. Donate to Cincinnati.
Why is Scott there?
Yes.
I can't hear what you're saying.
Let's bring in. Hang on.
He removed himself. He's got admin control.
He did remove himself.
He popped in. Hey, Mr. Scamper's in the chat. I see. That's fun.
I pointed that as well.
He's there all the time. Ryan, all the time.
Got a lot of the regulars that we're seeing there coming in and talking about the Scott Fishbowl.
Going to Minnesota? Wow.
Okay.
Dedication.
Scott, I looked up what the cost was for me to fly to Minnesota tomorrow. I don't know that I would raise enough in raffle tickets to cover that cost. So I said,
are you sure?
And I would end up spending more on beer. I don't know. I probably could. Those people are crazy.
Oh, John, I don't think you'd pay for a single beer if you came up here.
He said you will not have to pay for a single beer if you come up there.
Oh, no. If I go to Minnesota, he doesn't understand. I'm actually going shopping before I fly home.
He's actually staying in his house.
I am getting a
BYOB.
I fly in, I fly out. That's the goal. But I am stopping, and I am getting a full bag of Drecker to bring home with me. I already went shopping this weekend and last weekend and shouldn't have because I have way too many beers. But now I have way more. I did cider shopping though down here. That's a little different. It's a little like Nashville cider scene is very good. So, hey Scott, you got to text Ryan and tell him to come over and jump on, right?
I will.
All right.
Yeah, have everybody jump in.
Tell Ryan. Get him to come over. He's like sitting and hiding in the corner. Tell him not to do that.
Ryan McDowell has definitely been sitting in the corner and hiding so far. Appreciate it. Oh, man. Good time. Love having everybody come jump in.
Good times, great oldies.
Yeah. Good times, great oldies. That's exactly.
And we're back.
Jumping back in to live draft discussion, kind of coming back into things, looking at see how things are unfolding here. Paused a little bit as we've gotten through the second round. Like I mentioned before, CeeDee Lamb kind of ended that wide receiver run that we talked about a few minutes ago. Saquon Barkley followed by Kyler Murray, which Nick mentioned, similar build to what he's putting together in his division. Samuel Laporta, then Jonathan Taylor, and that's kind of where we're at right now. Back over to Marcellus Wallace division. So far, a little bit of a different build that we're seeing, how things are kind of unfolded here. What that's where you're going to see
a little bit more like a normal draft here. Got the wide receivers going. It's very interesting to see kind of what's going down on some of the drafts. I'm very intrigued so far. So last year I feel like we had a lot more 2 QB starts. We at least so far through a round and a half had 0 in both leagues, which is very interesting. You figure with it, I think a lot of people are definitely paying attention to the format this year. So kudos. Travis Kelce does. We are in Nashville. Travis Kelce's actually getting ready to come down and join the draft along with his girlfriend, Nashville native Taylor Swift. So we'll be bringing in Travis Kelce here.
Yes. Love to see him pop into this formation.
Come on down.
Will lose their
Come on down.
Travis Kelce, obviously.
Travis actually just said, come on down when I said come on down. Different Travis May.
Travis Kelce coming off the board there. Pick 2-8 here in the Marcellus Wallace division. Kind of odd. Figured he would probably go a little bit earlier based on how these drafts are unfolding. A lot of the ADP that I've been looking at as well. So it kind of felt like that's gotten Travis Kelce in a little bit of a good spot there. But like I was mentioning earlier, the Fantasy Life, Josh ADHD, Scott Fishbowl tool that's on there. Definitely use it.
I've seen some people go over to the table and put a bid in for some things. Please do so.
Mr. Skipper says I can still hear John. Can we all? We can all still hear John.
Thoughts on stacking in the fishbowl? If I remember right, a lot of the teams that have won or done very well have stacked. So yeah, I am all for it. I've been more for it for my number 2 QB. A lot of times, or at least the last few years, a guy like Josh Allen, you're going to get Stephon Diggs going high. Anthony Richardson, you're going to get Pittman going very high. So usually it's my QB2 that I actually find myself stacking a little bit more in the format. But what about you?
Yeah, a lot of what I've done in underdog drafts and stuff. You want to do that a lot with these large field tournaments, which the Scott Fishbowl is you want to kind of use that stacking mentality to a degree. It's very successful. I've found myself in a lot of best ball manias that I've done stacking my QB1 and my QB2. And that's what actually Bill Underwood just mentioned as well, as I was talking about it, stack times 2 for the bye week. Absolutely. I feel like it's the best way to go. That way you're kind of building multiple type of winning formations that way, winning strategies. Right, Bob Gilchrist says that Mark Andrews slips to the 3rd. I take that team to win the division. Good point. That's something. It's going to be interesting to see where some of these tight ends start to kind of fall off the board. Yeah, go back over here to Marcellus Wallace division. They're moving a little bit more at a different pace here. So you've got, after the Kelce pick, Dak Prescott comes off the board. So we have there
our first double QB.
First double QB selection. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. That's typically what we've seen in the past with Scott Fishbowl drafts. Is a lot of double quarterback starts. But the way that the scoring format really kind of brings back some of the quarterback scoring, kind of dials it back just a tad. You're seeing Dak Prescott, a lot of those quarterbacks. He has a little bit more of that rushing potential, but you have some of those other quarterbacks that are more pocket passer types. Those are kind of guys that really not going to score too well in this format this year. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. But Barkley Taylor towards the end of round 2 here in the Marcellus Wallace division. Flipping over to my division there with Goose.
Y'all been a bit slow over here in comparison to me. Y'all need to speed this shit up.
Yeah, a little bit different here, a little bit more of a slower pace. Got Kelce off the board now after the Jonathan Taylor pick.
Actually, take it back. You guys are going a little bit quicker. We just hadn't entered the names. Okay.
Haven't been putting them in on the.
As they were screaming, put them in on the app.
Okay, yeah. So the stickers on the board back behind me are moving faster than what's getting put in on the app. A.J. Brown goes off the board, followed by Jahmyr Gibbs.
That means it's you, babe.
So we're going to have me up on the board next.
What are you thinking here?
Once the Gibbs pick gets put into the system here. Wow. So I probably would have went Gibbs there. That went right in front of me here at pick 10 in the second round. That would probably been my selection. But kind of looking at how the scoring format is, how the roster builds are, the way I'm kind of looking at how this roster is going to stack up.
It's going to be a little while before you pick again.
Yeah,
with
because
the third round reversal, I mean, you got to make a good pick here or risk whatever you're hoping for not coming back around. So
true, and for the way that the format is, the scoring set up, looking, kind of studying how my board's laying out, and I think Seth Gordon, if he's talking about my team, I think he's nailing exactly what I'm looking at right here. That's me. I'm taking Trey McBride. I'm going to take Trey McBride here with that second pick for me here, second round, 11th pick of the second round. Tight ends premium format here. I think that's the way to go. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, I think that's something to keep in mind when you're building this roster. You're going to have one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end. But all those flex spots, you can filter in whatever mix and match type of format you want to use with these position players. So I go ahead and I get my top tier tight end, which Trey McBride is my tight end one in my rankings that are over on rotoballer.com right now. So now I'm going to kind of let the board kind of come to me. I feel how the way I've started this draft, Richardson, McBride, I'm kind of playing for upside with these two picks and seeing how things unfold.
Okay. I'm making his pick.
Switch over. Buy and sell you sub. We appreciate it. Thank you. That'll have just another one that's going to Fantasy Cares, so we appreciate that as well. Going to do the donations at the end of this to Fantasy Cares.
It's like our own potathon. We got to come up with the potathon name.
That's true. We're doing a woo-a-thon.
Woo-a-thon.
We're doing the woo-a-thon today, ladies and gentlemen.
Got this ball, folks. I'm going to lose my voice, I promise.
Travis mentioned that he might lose his voice. I guarantee you that's probably happening for me
Nobody
today.
might lose critiquing me, as he does. So,
Because a part of me feels like I'm having to talk very loud because of the atmosphere around us.
yeah. Okay.
So I feel like I'm kind of yelling into
So
the
make sure, thank you to everybody for being here, by the way. And make sure, so this place is Tailgate Brewery. They have multiple locations around here. They open their doors for this event. So thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much, staff. You guys are awesome.
Travis giving a shout out to the Tailgate Brewery crew for the atmosphere and the welcoming feeling as we're being here.
So that they have it back next to you. All right? Sound good? Good. Thank you. Appreciate y'all for being here.
And then getting back in Bill Underwood talking about Bill, Mike Ingram here, bully tight end. Very, very solid idea. Here in the Marcellus Wallace division, Seth talking about go bold here at 3-4 for Nick at the fourth spot when his pick comes up. I agree. I think you should go bold here. Seth said he thinks you should go bold at the fourth pick here in the third round.
No. No, I see where your head's at with Daniels. I see where your head's at. But it's not bad. It's not bad, but I think going the exact same direction you are. So it is on me. I am also going to join in with you and go Trey McBride here for, wait a minute, a stack.
Good idea.
Here we go.
Good idea. And so, like, it goes into my mindset. What I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I felt like I had to go with the tight end there at the end of the second round because the guy that I really wanted to target, McBride, I know he's not coming back to me at the end of the third round. The way that this draft is going to unfold, the scoring format and everything. So it's more about getting your guys, especially when you're drafting at the end of each round. You're first, second pick, 11th, 12th pick. You kind of want to go and get your guys at that point. Don't worry about ADP. Don't worry about how rankings look. You really kind of want to step out above your comfort zone and grab guys that you want. And so that's that's one strategy I say to kind of put into place when you're thinking about draft strategy from the ends of a draft. Is how I would go about that. But starting that round off, Derrick Henry was the first pick of round 3 here. Jordan Love, Travis Etienne, and Nick just mentioned.
Yep, I think I took it.
Hasn't put his name in the app
You know,
yet.
You know what? Hey, we're going through. There we go. Yeah, we can.
And back over the Goose Division, we hadn't checked in on this in a couple minutes, but right behind me, Dalton Kincaid goes right behind me to the team that took Josh Allen 1. Which
he was just telling me he was stressing that you were about to go to Kincaid
again
because he's got the stack.
So now, how things are going to look. Looking at the Goose Division here, starting round 3 off, you're starting to see some of the quarterbacks come off the board again. But now for the teams that have not taken their first quarterback yet, Jaden Daniels leads off round 3, followed by Jordan Love, followed by Joe Burrow. Jaden Daniels, very, very, very nice pick there. I think in this scoring format, he's probably putting up easily top 10 numbers, just with the rushing utensil that he brings to the table.
Utensil?
Yes, utility.
Oh, utility.
Rushing utility.
Utility or futility?
He will not be futile unless he's injured, which is something I talked about with Derek Brown, D-Bro on the quarterback show that I did a couple weeks ago on the New Fantasy YouTube channel. So go back and check that out if you've not. Yeah, me and D-Bro are very much right in line, lockstep with Jaden Daniels and how we view him this year. And then, like I mentioned, I asked Derek D-Bro that day what his worry meter was, what his worry was for Jaden Daniels from an injury standpoint.
Barometer?
Yeah, his barometer. What his worry was with Jaden Daniels possibly faltering like Anthony Richardson did a year ago and succumbing to injury. How do you feel Jaden Daniels holds up here in year 1 with the Washington Commanders?
I mean, I'm a little nervous. I think the situation is exactly what Anthony Richardson had last year. Can he hold up? Can he stand up to the rigors of the NFL? And the pass rushers in that division. I mean, look at the pass rush. Like he is gonna be on the ground. So that's my one question. His ability, I think, especially rushing in this format, I think it's great.
Yep.
Again, it's kind of like we had talked, at least for me in making this pick. I think just the value drop off from tight end here. I don't want to be getting a bad tight end in this format. That's why I went with Brian. I think the floor of my.
Yeah, and that was kind of my strategy coming into this, honestly, is I was hoping a player kind of like a Jaden Daniels could potentially fall to me here towards the end of round 3. So that's what I'm kind of looking at.
Right, we got to guess what.
And here comes, come on in here. Travis May coming in, hosting our event today. How's things kind of coming unfolding so far as things?
It's pretty good.
45 minutes into the draft.
Yeah, 45 minutes in the draft. Both drafts are in round 3. One of them actually hasn't taken Jaden Daniels yet, and hopefully they aren't watching this to know that that's like a good idea to make the selection. Were you noticing that? Me and Ryan McDowell were talking about it. I'm like, how in the world is Jaden Daniels not coming off the board yet?
Yeah, that's in that Marcellus Wallace division. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do you have any? I'm pretty bullish on Jaden.
That's what I was just discussing that right before you came over here. Me and Derek Brown on my quarterback show that I did just a couple of weeks ago. We are very bullish on Jaden Daniels this year. Both had him as our first, top quarterback coming out in this draft class this year, and both feel that he's got easily QB1 potential in redraft this year.
Absolutely. And a couple of these teams are stacking some like super dual threat quarterbacks early because it is partial points per carry in this league. And so
Yes.
it is surprising to me that he's not coming out the board because he's going to have to carry the entirety of the offense.
Absolutely. That's the thing with Cliff Kingsbury's offense. They're going to run a lot of plays. Hey, so that offense is going to be up there. They're going to be moving quickly.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how well he does right away. He was kind of my quarterback too throughout much of the process. So right behind, of course, Caleb Williams. But where are you actually picking?
I'm over here. Switch back over to the Goose division. I'm number 2 in this division here. Started draft off Richardson, Trey McBride. Richardson, I felt like I was going to take Richardson at that spot. It felt like that was going to be my lock pick at that point. Swinging for the fences, so to speak, is what I said.
Nice. Yeah, that's a very polarizing pick to some. I've seen even with the average draft position data that Fantasy Life folks at the Matthew Berry's crew have put together. That he's kind of all over the place in terms of the early round picks. There's not a whole lot of variance at the top of the board, but he's one where it's like, okay, as early as the first overall, or he could drop to like the second round in some cases. I know myself, I have some doubts about his passing ceiling, but in this format, that might not even matter. So
it's true. Yeah. At this point, we're really looking for that rushing utility, points for first down, points per attempt, and all that. So that's what I'm looking at now. I mentioned it with Nick on the show just a few minutes ago.
Sure. Oh, wait,
points per drop back.
You got a great question from Seth right here.
Yep.
He's asking what our names are.
This is Travis May. Travis May, tell them where they can find you on X.
You can find me on Twitter /X, whatever it is these days, at @FF_Travis M. Do a bunch of my stuff over at A to Z Sports these days. I'm the college football managing editor there. Do some Titans coverage for them too, but get to do football stuff year round these days, which is a lot of fun. But great question, Seth. I'm glad you're listening in. Hope you're enjoying the draft.
Yes.
We'll get some actual drafters on here because I actually am in the Darth Vader division, and so I'm not actually participating today. I'm just hosting this particular draft, and I'll get some other drafters on too. You can pick their brains here shortly. Sound good?
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit of strategy with some of the drafters as we go through the process. That's what this is all about. Bringing everybody on, getting to meet everybody, get into that mind, kind of nitpick what they're thinking as the drafts unfold.
Sounds good. Well, I'm going to go lose my voice talking about some auction items.
Exactly.
So I'll let you get to it and probably drink a little bit more. There's Tailgate Brewery here in Nashville. Music Row location is awesome. So come check it out.
It's been great so far. Appreciate it there, Travis. Have a good one. Travis, ladies and gentlemen. And going back to Seth, too, I don't know if I mentioned in mine, but I'm at Roto Superstar on Twitter, on X. So if you've not followed me, if you're not following me, check me out there. All my work over there at Rotoballer as well. The podcast is through rotoballer.com. All my rankings are up there. Mr. Hefley back over here. Coming down the board here in my Goose division, see Puka Nakua come off the board, Kyron Williams off the board. The interesting start of Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. Bully running back.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it as long as you can build with the quarterbacks in that particular build. I think that's a solid start.
I very much thought about it. I was really close to wanting to do a start like that. And I like the quarterbacks later, like I have in previous years. I think this format very much lends to that. But I do like the running backs coming up here. So a big reason I did not do that. But I'll be interested to see how Team 7 is going to build their draft.
Yeah, from that point on, kind of be wild to kind of see how things are going to unfold for them. But with Derrick Henry, the Derrick Henry pick there in round 3 kind of hurt my heart. I had a little bit of a glimmer of hope that he was going to last me down here at the tail end. That particular build, though, Robinson, Taylor, and Henry, that's 3 running backs that I currently have ranked inside of my top 5 at the position. Absolutely, it's bully running back, like I mentioned. Now, as Travis just mentioned when he was over here a minute ago, the Marcellus Wallace division was yet to have Jaden Daniels come off the board. Just now comes off the board right after Nick takes Trey McBride there with the 4th pick of this round. So now you have that particular build. It's Brees Hall, Justin Jefferson, Jaden Daniels. Solid start. But kind of waiting to see how things are going to come off towards the end of the round here. And bringing up our trusty Scott Fishbowl tool on Fantasy Live, kind of looking at things, seeing how the board's looking currently. Let's see where we're at here towards the end of round 3, and kind of some of the names that might be coming off the board here. Looking at current ADP, around where I'm at. This is where I had a little bit of hope because current ADP, Scott Fishbowl, Derrick Henry's coming off the board as the 35th overall player, so I was kind of hoping that ADP was going to get and going to stick. But you've got kind of in this group of players, you got guys like Travis Etienne, Brock Purdy, Derrick Henry, Kyle Pitts, Caleb Williams, Evan Ingram. They're all names that you're going to see kind of on the board here in this moment of the draft.
This is my best Ryan McDowell impression, people.
We got John Bosch on the mic.
That's about 50% of it.
Can we see him on the side here? Maybe.
Somebody dropped out. I need somebody to fill in. DM me, email me. We just need you to make these emails. Also, DLF is awesome. You really should be able to answer.
Absolutely, that's to be football. Actually,
doing the hosting duties up here, Travis and John Bosch, talking about the silent auction stuff that we have that's available here, live at the draft at the Tailgate Brewery. All this going to Fantasy Cares, of course, like we've mentioned a few times here on the podcast.
How many subscribers do we have? How much we donated so far?
Last check, I think it was 50 new.
Oh,
50 new. So we're adding up some numbers here.
Up to the second.
Yes. So currently, we do currently have 50 new subscribers to the Woo Fantasy YouTube page. So definitely go to the YouTube page for Woo Fantasy. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell your family and friends. Put it out there on Twitter X. Tell them to go subscribe to this podcast. Like I mentioned, going to be donating at the end of today's live event for the amount of new subscribers to the Woo Fantasy page.
John knows the group.
Get a little bit of water in so I can get talking a little bit more. But on the board in this Goose division here, got James Cook was picked, sticker on the board, yet to put the name into the sleeper app. So once that's updated and put into the sleeper app, we'll see it there. But switching back over to Marcellus Wallace, we see the team that started off with a stack of Mahomes and Kelsey went double tight end. So got the kind of the double tight end start there. Good idea with Kincaid there. I personally probably would have went Mark Andrews. Let Mark Andrews slip back behind him to the next pick of the team that has Lamar Jackson and was able to stack Lamar Jackson with Mark Andrews. Also a popular stack that we're seeing in a lot of these drafts, these slow drafts so far at this point in time too.
It's a good stack. I mean, in this format, I know he's going to get receptions. Really, it's all about Mark Andrews' health at this point. So
stays healthy, he's going to get in the end zone. He's going to get the catches. So.
I mean, right behind him, you got a Mahomes-Kelsey stack.
Right.
Coming behind him. I got the stack with Murray McBride toward the end over there.
Then you got Brock Purdy, Josh Jacobs, who is a very polarizing player out there. If you follow along out there in the fantasy community, a lot of people have varying opinions of Josh Jacobs and what that true value is at running back. We mentioned it. We talked about it on the Woo Fantasy podcast just the other night. Kind of could go anywhere. He could be the bell cow back for the Packers. He could split time, be a 50-50 type of a player. Seth Gordon, who am I considering here towards the end of this round? Really, it's going to vary. It's going to depend on what's going to be there at this point in time.
Okay, so James Cook on the board, Garrett Wilson, and then we have Mr. SBSFC.
Ooh, good Lord. Hawkinson.
Ron Harwood about to make his pick here.
Yikes.
Back up his stack of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
He's taking who? Barkley?
Dallas Goddard.
Oh, he's taking
No,
Goddard.
I'm kidding. I don't know. He's going.
I was about to say. Woo, man. He would have taken Dallas Goddard there. My goodness.
Marvin Harrison.
All right. So not loaded on to the sleeper app yet. We have James Cook to the Mahomes-Kelsey stack team, followed by Garrett Wilson, followed by Marvin Harrison, the pick that was just put up on the board. Things are kind of looks like they're kind of coming down how I really wanted them to come down. Get a little bit of a wide receiver run in front of me. I definitely appreciate that because that's what I was hoping to see. With some wide receivers coming off the board, not ready yet to target wide receiver. What I'm going to be looking at here is
What are you going to be looking at? Going RB here, huh?
well, I have a feeling the guy that's actually currently on the clock is right in front of me, and I will not. I'm kind of afraid to say it in case he's listening around me, but I feel like Mark Andrews is about to be the pick here to get the stack. Unless he doesn't believe in stacking, then Mark Andrews slides to me, and I'll probably take Mark Andrews.
They're going to the tight end. I feel like we're going Mark Andrews.
Bingo, ladies and gentlemen, that is the selection.
And bingo was his name.
So that's
What are you? Click over to our board here real quick. We had Team 2 guys. His name is Logan Pitts. Just drafted Kyle Pitts.
good call. Good call.
Our draft is just quiet.
Yeah, starting to work through this draft board fairly quickly in y'all's division from what I can see.
You are on the clock, sir.
All right, so, but I also need to have it. Can't make my pick until they put their picks in on sleeper. So we need the pick. We need the sleeper picks put in. So, like I mentioned, it went Cook,
Kirk's picking.
Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Mark Andrews right in front of me. So, as we talk about how the importance of getting kind of a running back that's more of a bell cow type of mentality running back, I believe that's going to be where I'm looking at with this pick.
I think you have to.
Yeah. Looking at it just off the top, there's a couple of players in mind right now looking at the board. Who do I want to swing for the fences of upside, or do I want to go with a guy that's going to have a little bit more of a kind of guaranteed workload, guy that I feel more confident in? That's what I'm looking at. There's a decision here when it comes to that. But now wait for it to get to me because I feel like I've already kind of made my mind up on the pick.
Shocker.
What's that?
No, just you, that you've already made your mind up. But
Yeah. My pick, once it gets uploaded and everybody's got their picks in on the sleeper app, we need to get Harwood to put his pick in. He's Dr. Harwood from the SBFFC is
different guy.
Put your pick in on the app, sir.
Different guy in front of him.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it's a different guy. Never mind. Yeah, he just mentioned to me. So, I think I'm going to go, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like my pick. I'm going to Seth talking about going for the swing here. I don't know if I'm ready to take that big of a swing yet because I think what my pick is going to wind up being, what I'm leaning towards is Travis Etienne. I believe that's.
Pull up your board here. Let's see where we're working.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So Harwood, Harrison, like I mentioned, Andrews is the pick.
Well, pull up ADP. Are you able to do that?
Well, I'm not shown, but.
I mean, ETN is the top ranked player on the board. Am I seeing that right? I mean,
yeah, he's right here in this range. Right here on that range right there is where he's at currently in ADP. I'd be getting him behind ADP, so it's actually a value pick when you look at it from those terms. He's went as high as 19 in some of these drafts. He's went as low as 50.
I think it's the pick.
Yeah, so I feel like that's kind of the pocket that I'm at, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock it in, and I'm going to go with Travis Etienne. It's going to be my selection here.
I'll go be a nice guy and put it up for you again.
Hey, there we go. So Travis Etienne gives me a solid running back one here. Back over to the swing with the team at the end here. And I would not have hesitated at all to take Mark Andrews there if that pick would have been available. I would have went back-to-back tight end there. Swing back over to the Marcellus Wallace division, kind of looking at how this board looks. As you can tell, Travis Etienne goes very, very early in round 3 in this one. I got him at the tail end of this one. Yeah, Ryan Bolts, Andrews stacked with Lamar is a fantastic stack. I do agree with you there. Several stacks of Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson for me that I've gotten in underdog fantasy drafts up until this point. But here in the 4th round, as we're looking at it on the board here, Devin Achane, Kyle Pitts, Olave, Evan Ingram pairing the double tight end, Devontae Adams, Caleb Williams, Isaiah Pacheco, and that's where they're at here midway through round 4. Marcellus Wallace division here. Oh, okay, got a little bit of a tricky situation. Guy here on the route, Kurt, takes Jalen Waddle followed by Tua Tagovailoa to stack the two players together. Like I mentioned before, you're at the end, you're not really going to follow ADP to a degree. You're really kind of going to go after players that you want to target, you want to grab. So at that point in time, now that I'm looking at the board,
Drive it.
I'll turn it on. That means it must be something that's
so yes.
It must not be just a click of a button.
Seth saying exactly what I'm thinking here. Tough decision here. Based on how my build looks, what I'm looking at kind of current ADP, seeing around where some of these players are falling.
All right, folks, we have a giveaway. Ryan is going to throw one, and I'm going to deliver the other one. Because I'm a Bearcat fan.
So I'm back up on the clock here, Nick.
Oh, I'm on the clock too.
So we're both making the decision at the same time.
Some tells me it's a different player making the decision.
Absolutely. You're at the tail end of round 4 now. I'm at the beginning of round 4. So I want to kind of look before I make this pick, kind of see where things are at over here, kind of how their boards are falling. It's always a good practice too.
Ryan, who do you want to hit first? We're giving away PFF football to the first people that drafted.
Seth's idea is running back, wide receiver. Part of me is actually saying no.
Pass here from Ryan. Everybody ready?
Definitely wide receiver or running back for me. What do you got?
And that's what just mentioned. Seth was saying running back or wide receiver for me.
I mean, me personally, I value running back a little bit more than I value wide receiver in this format. So that's the direction I'm going. What about you?
Who is it over there? Who drafted Kelsey? Raise your hand.
You know what?
Oh, this is way too close.
I have been talked into it. I'm going to go back to the running back wheel.
Okay.
That is
Who you get?
My pick here is going to be
That's where I was.
Isaiah Pacheco.
That's where I was hoping he'd make it back to me. He didn't. I'm going Rashad White.
So obviously you're getting a couple of players, heavy usage.
Thank you, Travis.
Everybody's thanking Travis.
He's doing a great job coordinating this.
Yes.
I like to jump on here constantly.
I'll make your pick.
But seriously, folks, we have some really fun
Seth St.
action items.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Please go make a sign.
Pacheco is actually a guy that I've got ranked inside the top 10 at the running back position right now.
They opened the doors for us.
I thought about going Kyle Pitts there. That was a very hard decision for me to make. Thinking about going with Kyle Pitts. Get that double tight end based on the scoring format we mentioned. Going back into the tight end well. And as we see.
So if you haven't volunteered and you want to hop on with Brandon and Nick, I'm going to start grabbing people. So
That's right. We're gonna
join the live stream. Hop on.
You're going to talk for like a minute about your crap. People care about
They do.
That's true.
People care about your fantasy football team. This is the only place it's going to happen.
That's right. John's telling the room, everyone cares about your fantasy football team. Don't listen to the people on Twitter and X that say, I don't care about your Scott Fishbowl draft. Stop posting the pictures on there. We're going to debunk that. So I want to get some of the guys in the draft room, within the other two divisions, to really kind of get ideas, think what that draft strategy is, what they're feeling. How the board's unfolding, have they gotten sniped?
I'm going to talk about a couple of things that aren't actually we got a couple of people.
But I want to switch back over there to Nick's division 2. Nick. So Nick wound up, like he mentioned, he was hoping that Pacheco was going to make it back to him. He goes with the next best available running back on his board. He goes with Rashad White. A little bit lower on Rashad White. If you watched the Blue Fantasy podcast earlier this week, we had a little bit of a debate about Rashad White. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a regression from a usage standpoint there. So for me, there's probably some guys in that range I might have looked at. But by contrast, if you want to look at it and talk about it, in Goose division, so we'll look at it right here. So I'll point it out. Josh Jacobs goes towards tail end around 3 here. Devin Achane going in this draft here, first pick of round 4. Whereas in the Goose division that I'm in, both players still available at this point in time. So that's going to be something to keep in mind and watch over the course of the next few picks, see how they go.
For about 15 years, and we basically provide information to people who play FanDuel, DraftKings, daily fantasy football every single Sunday, every single sport. So we donated a 6-month subscription, which encompasses not just football, but any sport that we do projections and
Got Dan Back now on the microphone on Roto Grinders. If you don't follow him, Dan Back on Twitter, on out, kind of giving a little bit of a discussion point. We're letting everybody know about Roto Grinders, what they do for the DFS community.
Good opportunity for you to check it out, and hope you enjoy it. And thanks for coming to this. It's great.
Roto Grinders. If you're unfamiliar with Roto Grinders, they put some of the best information out there about all things DFS for any and every sport.
Seth say, what an interesting Rashad White. I'll agree there on that one. But like I just mentioned, so like we were just talking about,
Sorry, I'm trying to get gas.
Seth mentioned that was a very interesting pick that you made, Rashad White there. What was your mindset with Rashad White in that selection in the 4th round?
I mean, if you look at the format, look at the scoring projections of the running backs that are available. Again, I am really valuing running backs a little bit more than I am in wide receivers right now. Top-ranked running back on my board. I really would have preferred Pacheco like you picked in this round. He went a couple picks before me, so if you click back on our board, went right before me here. And so, again, I probably would hit up a quarterback here in just a minute. Herbert got picked 2 and just got picked here at 11. So I feel good about the quarterbacks coming back to me here in just a second. But that running back position, again, I think in this format especially, I value just a little bit more, so that was my pick.
Yeah, absolutely kind of the key to win in this particular type of draft. You know, like I mentioned, the common misconception is you want to load up on wide receivers in this draft. But with the scoring format, the way things are unfolding, especially at the roster starting lineup limitations, you can get one wide receiver and then load up everywhere else.
And I think that, especially with the depth of wide receiver, especially with some of the wide receivers with the special teams format here, that may be the play. That may be the play. You know, I have waited on wide receivers so much in this format, and especially this is a good year to be able to do that. You only have to start one. Again, granted, I would love some more receivers, but if you go back and typically look, I mean, a guy like Devontae Adams at round 4, he doesn't usually last that far. So
no,
wide receiver waiting on these guys, exactly. Wide receivers deep, you can wait a little bit more. It's better to hit those other positions. Really attack wide receiver in those mid rounds, I think, is the play for me.
Absolutely. You're seeing kind of how some of the draft is starting to kind of take shape for some of these teams. Like I mentioned just a few minutes ago with the Goose Division here and some of the guys that I was thinking about taking there, Kyle Pitts goes exactly right after me. So I was wavering on that pick. He's the very next pick. So obviously a good thought process there. Rashad White followed by Evan Ingram. First tight end off the board for him. He started McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, Garrett Wilson, Evan Ingram. So he's tackling each potential position so far through the first 4 rounds of the draft. And getting a guy like Evan Ingram, the way tight end premium scoring is here in the 4th round, I think it's a solid pick there. Devontae Adams coming off the board just now. We were just talking about that as well.
Caleb's a good pick. If Caleb would have been available, I think that would have been the pick for me. Bears homer, I probably would have gone that direction, even though I don't like necessarily his rushing ability here. Again, Jaden Daniels, I think Jaden Daniels in this format, I think, is the best rookie quarterback of the bunch.
Absolutely.
Caleb Williams is number 2. I'd much be a little bit more comfortable with him in round 5 versus round 4, but no, great pick right there.
You got Steve S. saying, agreeing to what we were talking about. Wide receivers deep, feel better, valued later. Couldn't agree more. I think you get a lot of those guys later on in the middle to late rounds. A lot of those bunched together guys that are in that kind of tier, late wide receiver 2 area, early wide receiver 3 area that can provide some upside. Historical anomalies. Wanting to know, do I have Pacheco ranked above HM because of the 2.5 per rush? Absolutely. I believe that's the case there.
600 a little while.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Historical anomalies, that is a big factor. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I do feel like you want those bell count running backs while they're available, guys that can give you those points per rush, points per first down. And we saw, last year towards the end of the year, Isaiah Pacheco was heavily used in the offense. They did not make any additions to this backfield.
I don't think CH is going to take much from him.
He's not going to take much from
no, I think he's a great pick, especially with the value for first down. Easily a top 10 running back, I think, in this format for me.
You mentioned Ingram last year.
I would have loved to have doubled up with him in the 4th here. White was a good pick for me. I still like the White pick, but I think with his first down ability, Pacheco is just a touch better in this format. What do you think about David Achane? We were talking about Achane the other day.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Achane? Obviously, I think it's a little bit of a value coming off here in the 4th round, but what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, where he came off the board here in the Goose Division, I feel like that's a value pick at this point, but where you're seeing him come off the board, especially in underdog drafts, and you're going to see him coming off the board in a lot of these divisions, a lot of the redrafts as the next few weeks unfold. He's going a little bit too high because we don't really know what that workload is going to entail yet. A lot of people are talking about HM is expected to get more of a workload with the Dolphins this year, but they still have Raheem Mostert. They now have Jalen Wright. And Mike McDaniels really talked about the fact that he's going to use all three. He doesn't know how the rotation is going to go yet. So
I would be
banking on upside.
I'm a little scared. You know,
Yeah.
he's definitely one of those guys, like, he could be an absolute home run. And you know what? He's one of those guys, too, that he doesn't need a ton of touches to be able to be impactful. But I think in this format, you want that guy that's the bell cow running back, not the home run hitter, and have to rely on that necessarily. But as your number 2 / flex number 1, whatever we're going to call it for fishbowl format,
Yep.
a good pick.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's what he's looking at there. Is that's his second flex. That's the first flex technically. That's how that's going. You know, he's a guy that was very, very high in fantasy points per touch last year. So that's something to kind of keep in mind with a Devin Achane. The thing is that there's so much variance with him in usage week to week. I mean, he could be a guy that's going to give you 7 or 8 touches in the backfield one week, and he could give you 16 or 17 the next week. You just really don't know because of how that backfield for the Miami Dolphins is utilized. So that's really the risk you're taking on. It's a gamble, but if it hits, it's an amazing pick. That's how I kind of view a guy like a Devin Achane coming into the 2024 season. Switch back over here to the Marcellus Wallace division. Coming back around.
Back to me here in just a second.
As you mentioned, you got Tua Tagovailoa at the end of round 4, followed by James Cook, who went very much later than he did in the Goose division. And then Brandon Ayuk coming off the board there as well.
I mean, it's falling about like what I thought here. There's definitely a target for me in my next pick that I'm kind of zeroing in on. I'm fingers crossed that he makes it back. So,
Seth, I agree with you there. Hollywood Brown's a guy that I do like this year.
I would agree. I'm not a Worthy fan this year. I feel like he's too niche, especially in this format. I think I want a guy with a little bit more volume. Hollywood, at least here, and even more in general drafts, I think Hollywood's going to be the guy that's going to get some volume.
Yeah, that's what. And we don't know yet the Rashee Rice situation. There's been no discussion. There's been nothing coming from the NFL that's told us that he is getting suspended. We assume he's getting suspended, but there's been nothing coming from the NFL yet. So that's a good chance that if there's no suspension for Rashee Rice, the teams that are getting him at that value right now at a premium selection, my goodness. But if Rashee Rice were to get suspended, let's say 2 4 games possibly, then Hollywood Brown kind of gets in that discussion in that wide receiver 2 range, high-end wide receiver 3. Guys are going to be very heavily valued. Worthy on kick returns, Seth Gordon just mentioned. Also something to keep in mind with the scoring format. That's a good point. We've also seen it already kind of in rookie mini camps, OTAs. Xavier Worthy's banged up, pulled a hamstring. That's something to kind of keep in mind with these guys that run ultra fast. I've mentioned it on a podcast previously. I'm not saying he's John Ross, but he's already shown John Ross tendencies. Yeah, he beat John Ross's combine 40 times, and he comes in the first work mandatory minicamp. He pulls a hamstring. That's tough scene. So,
ooh, I'm getting ready to run to the board.
Nick getting ready to run to the board. You just had your selection in front of you.
Right, getting ready to run to the board.
Where are we at? What are we thinking?
Coming up in round 5 here, there's one quarterback who has a little bit more rushing ability. I think had a little bit of a down year this last year. But Superflex, I'm getting ready to pick Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, the rushing ability, got the receivers in tow. Is absolutely my pick here. Definitely the best of the quarterbacks that are remaining on this board. So we're into round 5 here. Trevor Lawrence is overall 44, so got a little bit of the value running. So getting ready to literally run it for him.
Yep, QB 16 coming off the board, and Scott Fishbowl ADP currently 44 overall, like you just mentioned. Solid pick there, kind of a post-hype sleeper to a degree. You know, everyone was high on him as a QB1. You know, kind of a tail end back in QB1 last year. Did not work out very well for people last year. But now you're getting at a better cost this year in drafts. It's a QB2. There's really nothing. I mean, they added Brian Thomas Jr. in the draft. Obviously, they'll go Calvin Ridley. Bringing in Gabe Davis. The weapons are still there for him to utilize. You've got to hope that this next season under Doug Peterson, everybody kind of stays healthy and things kind of stay status quo and they increase their usage in the passing game. As for me, I hope they don't. I have Travis Etienne as my number one running back in the Scott Fish Bowl now. I want to see Travis Etienne running the ball 20 times a game is what the hope is. But we'll switch back over to the Goose Division, kind of see how the end of round 4 is looking. Talked about it a minute ago. Caleb Williams for the team that started out with 3 straight running backs. QB1 there. Caleb Williams can come in and put together kind of a lesser version of C.J. Stroud's rookie year. That's an amazing start. But if he comes in and he's every other Chicago Bear quarterback that we've seen over the last few years, then that could be trouble. That's my one concern with Caleb Williams this year. I've mentioned it ad nauseum through podcasts with Blue Fantasy, is the fact that Chicago Bears they have never had a 4,000-yard passing quarterback in the history of their franchise. Will Caleb Williams be the first to do so? We'll find out. Let me find out from everyone out there in the chat. If you're watching live with Fantasy Carriers, you're live watching with us on the Blue Fantasy YouTube page as well. Let me know what your expectations are for Caleb Williams in his rookie season in 2024. But wrapping up round 4 here, Devin Achek finally comes off the board to the team here. DB730 going swinging for the fences running backs. Kyron Williams, Devin Achek. I don't have a problem with Achek as our number 2.
You need some upside guys. I mean, this team is. I mean, Kyron Williams. I don't know where he would have finished with his fishbowl rank last year, but most leagues he was top 3 running back at least on a point per game average minus the games missed. So I definitely think it's a good pick. At this point here. Yeah, good format. Laporta is by all intents and purposes the tight end 1.
Yep.
Stroud's good. I think Stroud doesn't necessarily have that rushing ability like you would want with a pick like this. But I think his tight end his upside with some of his guys is going to be just fun.
Yeah, in this division here, the tight end premium scoring, we've got 8 tight ends off the board so far. That is, they have gone off the board. Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride to me, Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, followed by Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, George Kittle. Kind of feels like that's about the same kind of steady amount of where they're coming off the board so far. Ryan Bolt says Caleb's going to suck. Sincerely, a Packers fan.
Nice try. Don't be too jelly.
trying to make a dig at the Bears fan on the podcast. You're gonna love to see that.
Hey, I will say I would. I'm a realistic Bears fan. You would have to say, I think, right? Sure. I would absolutely rather have Love in this sport. 100%.
Absolutely.
Like all day long. I had Love in this sport. It's good.
Yeah.
One more option I actually have over here. Jordan Smith.
Let's see. Kind of studying how the board's coming along. I have an idea. I have a feeling of where I'm going to target.
You've got a feeling?
I got a feeling. Josh Jacobs comes off the board, followed by Jake Ferguson. And
how you feeling about Jake Ferguson?
I'm not gonna lie, that was the person that I put into my mental queue.
Do I need to switch you, man? You're sounding a little hoarse here.
Oh yeah, my voice is going. That's
what happens when you pod 3 times a week in fishbowl.
But talking about Josh Jacobs, Jake Ferguson, Nico Collins. Jake Ferguson was actually it was a long shot of a hope, but that was the hope for me, was to take Josh Jacobs or take Jake Ferguson with this next pick in round 5. Like I said, I put him in my mental queue.
Oh, mental.
But yeah,
you got to be careful with it because everybody's listening to strategic.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm putting it in my mental queue. I wasn't going to speak it into existence.
Well, you can't do that because then it's going to get taken. And then it did anyway.
And it did anyway. So
Breeze got you.
Huh?
I said Breeze. Sorry. Drafted Breeze, not Drew Brees. Breeze from our Atlanta drafts there. Big Breeze, Steven.
Yeah,
you up.
Absolutely.
Did a little pow.
He definitely did hit my guy there because Jake
I have
Ferguson.
no idea why they were still on the board.
Yes.
Wow. Ahead of
And that's what
after Nico.
But that's what we keep talking about is how the wide receiver quality is kind of getting pushed down the board a little bit right now, especially in this division. So there's guys that are there that I can kind of wait on and grab at a later point. And now I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit.
Big when there's that.
Pivot. And go a different direction with my next selection here once I come off the board. Alvin Kamara, the pick coming off the board here, 3rd pick, 5th round. Wow. A little earlier than I thought he would come off the board because you're not getting a lot of that rushing utility with an Alvin Kamara. His primary points and usage has been through the PPR formats the last couple of years. I think that's a little bit of a reach in this format. Kamara there at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with his receiving ability, who else is on the board? Like, I think who was on the board? I think for you guys.
Let's see here, guys that are on the board at the running back position.
I definitely would have gone Kenneth Walker or Mixon. I think over Kamara for me. I mean, Kamara's touchdown ability, but I think just him being a little older, most of his points coming from a receiving standpoint. I think losing a little bit of action this year to Kendre Miller. I think I would have gone that direction.
Yeah, that's probably where I'd have went. I'd probably went Joe Mixon at that selection. Yeah, over Alvin Kamara, especially. I think there's a chance that Kamara probably could have made it back to him. I don't know. The way that that just, like I said, it feels like kind of like it's a little bit of a reach kind of coming down. Love it. But we flip back over here. Speak of the devil, we were just talking about it. Kenneth Walker comes off the next pick right after Nick. And that's the 5th pick in round 5, followed by Nico Collins. And it's very interesting. Like, I'm kind of watching and looking at the boards here. There's so many different builds at play right now.
Everybody's got their own build. Like, it's quite interesting to see.
And which makes this kind of a draft interesting is because it really throws curveballs in there that you're not potentially expecting. So you're always going to have to be on your toes. And we always talk about it during our podcast and like leading into the draft season is, you kind of really want to be like water. You want to be able to adjust to how the draft flows. You don't really want to have too many people like dead set in your mind, like this is what I'm doing. This is my strategy. I'm not swaying from my strategy. A draft like this, when you have so many different builds at play, things are going to change, and you're going to have to make a different move.
Although it's really interesting, like we talk about that, you gotta adjust. This is kind of the exact like if I had my dream start, so to speak. I think outside of Pacheco for White in round 4 for me, if you're seeing on the board right now. It's kind of as I was hoping. Like 2 quarterbacks before 5, no wide receivers. Like I haven't exactly had to pivot. So.
Yeah. No way.
Bring it. Dan from Rotor Grinders in here replacing me.
Yep. Gonna get Dan back in here. Let Dan back discuss a few things. Talk about Rotor Grinders here in just a second. Putting a pick on the board. So let me bring that up.
I'll be back.
So Dan back so far. and his Scott Fishbowl has started off C.J. Stroud, Sam Laporta, Kyron Williams, Devin H.N., Brock Purdy. Come on in here, Dan.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
Dan back. Let everybody know watching out here on Fantasy Cares where to find you on Twitter.
Yeah, at Dan _ it's spelled back, but it's pronounced Bach, so it's all right, no big deal. But yeah, this is awesome to be able to be doing a live draft here. I've been in Scott Fishbowl for maybe 4 or 5 years, so yeah, it's good to kind of put some faces to names, and it'll be good.
How do you feel about the atmosphere up here at Tailgate Brewery?
Oh, this is great. I had the pizza, and I'd actually had their pizza once before, and I realized, man, it was awesome. And I forgot, just ordered it again, and was like, man, this has got to get on the rotation here because it's really, really good.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
highly recommend it if you come to Nashville to check it out.
Absolutely. So let's look at your Scott Fishbowl draft so far.
Okay.
You're they're at pick 8, pick 9? Yeah, pick 8. Pick 8. So you started off C.J. Stroud, Sam Laporta, Kyron Williams, Devin H.N. Just went with Brock Purdy as your second quarterback. How do you feel about the build? How's the draft kind of unfolded? Any kind of curveballs thrown your way?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize when I put my name on a number that was actually my draft number. I would not have picked number 8 if I knew that. So, yeah, I don't really love Stroud at 8, but I was also like, okay, where else am I going to go? I wasn't going to go receiver. I just think you can wait in this format for it. And, the one thing, even though you don't really need to stack quarterbacks and wide receivers, but I still like to do it a little bit.
Yeah.
He's got like 3 legitimate targets in Diggs and Nico and Tank Dell. So it gives me a lot of rounds to kind of like find somebody to pair him up with. Nico's already out. I don't know if Diggs will make it back around to me, but I didn't love the draft pick, but from that point on, I'm pretty happy with where I ended up. Laporta, one of the best seasons we've seen as a tight end as a rookie.
Sure. Yeah.
You got to think it's not going to get worse in year 2, right?
You wouldn't think. It's a high ceiling to reach for again in year 2. So do you have any worries that the touchdown regression hits for a guy like Laporta?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Because, Jamison Williams coming back this year, he missed a bunch of the season. But, I mean, normally you don't see that production from rookies at that position. So I think he's an outlier in terms of how good of a player he is. And they were really good last year. So I don't, suspect them to try and, change too much up off of the success that they had a year ago. So, in this format, reaching for tight ends, you kind of got to do it. I wasn't going to do it with Kelsey. I mean, I think there's sooner or later he's going to, they're going to save him. I mean, the bottom line is you're going to see late in the season or late in games, they're just not going to play him because he's getting up there in age. And
they want him healthy for the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, speaking of a guy we were just talking about before you made your pick in the last round, Devin H.N., kind of a polarizing pick among the fantasy community right now. What's your take on H.N.? Do you feel like he's going to get that added extra usage in that backfield this year and kind of overtake Mostert? Is that what you're viewing?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we saw last year is he's like a far superior athlete. Mostert had 20 touchdowns last year. That ain't going to happen again this year, let's face it. And all the early indications from minicamp is they're going to split him out in the slot and get him more involved in the passing game. Like, this isn't this with the Miami offense. It's not just like a one running back system. They're going to be putting people all across the field. It's going to be one of the most dynamic offenses, I think, in the league this year that were last year. And if he stays healthy, I just think in this format where you're playing thousands of people, shoot for the moon. Try to find these high upside guys. And I don't know if anybody's got truly much more upside, especially in the 4th round, than H.N. So I'm a fan of his. I think in this format too, I got some running backs late that I'm looking at that I think are going to help. So if he fizzles, I hope I'm not drawing dead, but I feel pretty good about his upside.
Rebound at that point. So, and now you're through 5 rounds. You got Brock Purdy. You just went ahead and got that second quarterback. We're doing the next 5 rounds today, and then we're kind of calling it quits until after. What's your preferred mindset for this next few rounds? Are you looking at any specific positions with this next pick or two, or are you just kind of letting everything unfold?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I kind of let it unfold here, and then I definitely have like some guys who I really love late in drafts that I think are getting overlooked who can make impacts. So I mean, obviously I don't have a receiver yet. It's probably, looking at the board who's left out there, there's a lot of really good players. So I'm pretty happy that I've kind of punted it to this point in time. So yeah, man, I'm
got a question for you here.
Oh, we got a question. I love
Historical Anomalies wants to know, what do you think of David Kitchen's new YouTube channel?
Yeah, the Live a Little channel. I heard about this. I haven't viewed. David is trying to become a best ball influencer, it seems. So he opened up a new YouTube channel. But yeah, the Swolecast, which is on our Roto-Grinders platform, is just one of those fun shows, I think, in the fantasy space. So it's kind of funny to see how those guys branch off and do their own little their own things, as well as actually the show itself. But Dave's a great friend of mine, someone that I've worked with for over 10 years, and one of the true, like, really good guys in DFS, and just not DFS, but fantasy in general. Yeah. And really happy, that he's kind of sprouting off doing something a little bit different. That's really cool.
Alex, I did see that a little bit on X and Twitter the other day. A little bit of a fun little spat back and forth.
I think with JJ, I think it was late round QB. He and Kitchen were going back and forth, which I love it. Like that kind of fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
We got to have a little bit of that. Like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. It's fantasy football. Like, everybody thinks they know, but at the end, you need a lot of things still to break your way, right?
It's all about luck. Things landing in your lap. Yep. You can only do so much research.
Yep.
The things always good. Injuries at play. Everything has to land in your lap correctly. But yeah, Dan, absolutely.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Great having you on.
Absolutely.
Let them know again where to find you, what you're doing out there.
Yeah, check us out, rotogrinders.com. That's been working for that business for upwards of 15 years now. So, if you're into daily fantasy football, obviously we got a few months before that gets rolling, but check us out. We put so much time and effort into our weekly projections, and really proud of the work that those guys do. And if you're into the pay-for-play DFS streets for baseball or soccer or anything, we have it all. Do check us out. It's a great community, and again, we've been doing it longer than just about anybody, and really proud to be like a Nashville, born company here, and being able to represent the first Scott Fish Bowl live draft.
I didn't ever know that y'all actually were here. I'm an hour and a half down the road. I was like, Roto-Grinders is here. Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Well, hey, thanks for having us.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
Let Dan get back to the draft. Sliding back into things here, ladies and gentlemen, kind of check in on what some of the stuff looks like. Yeah, coming back in there. Father of the modern best ball. Everyone comes from the tree. I definitely agree with that. I was following that stuff the last couple of days on Twitter. It was definitely fun to see some of the chatter. The little snipes back and forth with some of the guys there. That was great. But it was great having Dan Bach on there, especially, go use the stuff at Roto-Grinders. They do great work over there, so check them out there too. Getting back into coverage of the live drafts here, Scott Fish Bowl 14.
You are up in yours, sir.
Up mine? Okay, let's check it out. Flip back over here to mine. Just going to get the
Cooper Kupp and DK Metcalf off the board after you.
All right, so we were just talking to Dan, Brock Purdy, followed by Deebo Samuel, Joe Mixon, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp comes off the board, and then DK Metcalf right in front of me. At this point in time, guess what time it is, ladies and gentlemen?
Game time.
It's stacking time.
Oh.
Stacking time.
We're We're going. Let's see. What does that mean? It's Jelani Woodstock.
Yes. No, we went going ahead and grabbing Michael Pittman here. I don't want to take any chances. Michael Pittman's a guy that's, you got him ranked as one of those guys that's kind of right at the beginning tier 2. The wide receiver 2 type guys that are there. You see right behind me, Tank Dell, Devontae Smith. Tank Dell's a great pick. I think in a league like this, like Dan mentioned, like we've talked about so far at this point, you do want to swing for the fences. You do want to take shots at guys in a draft like this. Pittman, yes, Pittman for me. Now, as we're looking at the board, checking out the board, how things are unfolding now. I just took Pittman to get my stack with Anthony Richardson. Here we are in round 6. And guess what I'm going to do here with this pick? Second pick around 6. I'm going to go ahead and get my second quarterback.
I think it's a good move. Which one are you going with?
The quarterback that's available is the guy that you just got not long ago, and I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence myself, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at how this draft's unfolding, how the board's taking shape. Ryan Bolts, it says it's too early for Josh Downs. You betcha. It's too early for Josh Downs. But that's something to kind of keep in mind with Pittman and Anthony Richardson. I've kind of talked about it. Oh, bring it in. So, talking about Travis. But it's something to kind of that a lot of the talking points has been with Michael Pittman was that utilization with Anthony Richardson and what those targets and how they were valued last year in that small sample size, like we mentioned. Small sample size with Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. Pittman and Josh Downs were not very far apart in target percentage of that offense.
This is the Bengals bar, right? Bengals bar. Do we see that autograph from the Bengals coach on the Bengals bar? Yeah, that's a Bengals. This is a Bengals box bar. All right, nobody's giving me a hooday. Somebody give me a hooday. All right, we got one hooday. We got half hooday.
Looks like I made the smart decision there too, because after going Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert is the pick right after me. So
do you have any daughters?
Kind of goes back into that mindset that I've talked about.
Have an American Girl doll.
When you're at the end, you want to go ahead and take your shots at the guys and grab them because some of these positions aren't going to make it back to you.
We've got an autograph from Treylon Burks. All right. So,
autograph Treylon Burks football. Does anybody out there want us to bid on that for them? I don't know if there's a bid yet.
All right. I'm pretty
Put in a bid for Treylon Burks autograph.
Let's see what it's up to.
That's like the first time I experienced the Bengals playoff win in my life.
John Bosch.
We are up to $40.
Wow, that is overvalued on the Treylon Burks 9 football.
First Bengal drafted. Get your catching. Get ready. No, it's definitely not mixing. No, it's gotta be Burrow. Find Burrow. There we go. All right, Ricky, raise your hand. Ricky, right here. Ryan to Ricky. We got a completion, folks. That was a Bengals passing game. All right, now we're going to move over to the Titans passing game. I'm going to hit the ceiling again, please.
Yeah, we're playing a little bit of some games here.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Will Levis is super accurate. He's awesome. He's the best.
But look at kind of switch back over to the Marcellus Wallace division.
The Titans wide receiving crew was awesome 5 years ago.
I got Lawrence around 5. You got around 6.
Yep. So I got a little bit of a value there with Lawrence. But looking at what I was hoping, Jake Ferguson possibly making it back to me. He lasted longer in this division. That was the guy that I was potentially targeting there.
Where's Jake?
But how you kind of see how you see things.
Breeze, raise your hand if you're Breeze. You're about, oh my God.
Having a little bit of fun with the crowd here. John Bosch, Travis May.
Offensive point. That is why they have not
Trying to increase how the atmosphere goes here. Ryan Bolt saying hopefully Burks gets dealt soon. I kind of feel like that's going
Thank
to
you,
happen
everybody.
too.
Continue to bid.
They don't. The new coaching staff probably doesn't feel like he's bringing much value to the table. Burks drafted via the old coaching team and the GM. Probably not long for Nashville here. But kind of wanted to point it out this after the Ferguson pick, as what you kind of see in a lot of drafts like this, it can kind of really put a little bit of a run into people. So you got Brock Bowers go here at the tail end of round 5, and they come back in again a few picks later. David Njoku, highly valuable late down the stretch in this league last year and really across fantasy in general.
Probably my last of the top tight ends. I think Bowers for me started that run on the next kind of tier tight end. So he went before Njoku, but again, I think the doctor picking pick 1 is thinking some upside there. So
yeah, that's what I believe. I think you're getting back in some of the teams that have yet to take running backs finally dipping their toes into the water. You have Alvin
we got
Kamara.
the next team hasn't dipped his toe in the running back.
Aaron Jones. Exactly. You're seeing some of these teams that are in the middle kind of taking some of the stabs at the position. And if you flip back over to the Goose division, after I took Trevor Lawrence, I started the quarterback run of second QBs. Herbert followed by Goff.
We're going. We're off.
Yeah, we're off to the races here. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you're about to kind of enter that mode of where now you're going to start reaching for a quarterback because that super flex mentality takes over and you want to kind of grab that second quarterback.
I will say because of the format this year, I think in the last couple of years of the Scott Fish Bowl, we've seen a little bit more teams getting that second quarterback either round 2 or round 3, certainly by round 3 the last couple of years. And I think with the beautiful part of the draft this year with a little bit more of the scoring change favoring, the running quarterbacks, certainly once those guys go, is teams waiting just a little bit to get that next quarterback. So I think you see that here. Let's see, I don't think any teams, no teams in your division had 2 quarterbacks after 3 rounds. And only at the tail end of at the beginning of round 4 did 2 teams, team 1 there, having Aaron Tagovailoa. So definitely a lot different from most superflex I think that we see out there.
Yep.
And that's kind of playing out.
Yeah, you're seeing a little bit more of the teams attacking the scoring in this particular type of format. You're getting those tight ends come off the board early. You're definitely getting the running backs going earlier in this draft than you're seeing in typical basketball drafts like we've mentioned before. Ryan wanting to know if anyone's doing the live streaming at Minnesota tomorrow. That I can't answer. Don't know.
John was over here saying, but he may not be going. Apparently it's a little
trying to save a little bit of money.
Expensive.
Yeah, so I'm not sure on that, Ryan.
Guys, anybody know?
Yeah,
Scott, are you still with us? Nope.
If you're out there,
if you're out there, is anybody doing Minnesota Live?
Yeah, definitely shoot that out there. Let us know. That way we can kind of promote that and stuff too. I do know on Sirius XM right now on the Fantasy Channel, my good buddy Scott Engel, the King, he and Anthony Aniano from Rotoballer Radio, they're actually covering the New York draft. So if you have a second, kind of pop in, check on that, see how their live draft, their event's going too. Scott Engel, very good friend of mine, got me my start in the fantasy industry. Been good friends with Scott for quite a while now. And bam, right, I was wondering when it was going to happen. There it is. We've popped the Raheed Shaheed cherry. Here we go. Here at round 6, pick 5, round 6. That kid Fett takes Raheed Shaheed here in the Goose division.
And he slammed his pick on the board. He went, wow.
Oh, he was
making authority.
Making a statement here, ladies and gentlemen. So looking back over
What do you think about that?
Huh?
What do you think about the Sheehan pick?
Yeah,
we get in that territory for you?
There's so much. Yeah, I would say there's so much variance with it because for me, I think he's about the only guaranteed, like definitive guy that is getting wide receiver steady work in the offense and the rotation of the targets, but also takes that usage from a kick return and punt return standpoint. I think he's like that tier unto himself. And then from that point on, it's really kind of a guessing game with a lot of these guys. Do you want to pull a trigger on a Marvin Mims? You've mentioned a Khalil Shakir. And those guys, it's just what's their role in the offense truly? We know that they're going to be getting some of the usage on special teams, but how do you factor that into your mindset, your play, how you're thinking with your draft plan with some of these guys? For me, I'm kind of hands off on those guys. Let me get some of the value elsewhere. Yes. But we're coming up, getting close to your selection here. Round 6. The way your board's unfolding, you're probably coming up.
We got a quarterback. Seemingly Deshaun Watson. I think that's the pick I see on there. So I'm up here. There we go. Deshaun Watson.
Feel like you're going to take wide receiver?
I feel like that's the direction I want to go. I've had my eye on this guy for a couple of rounds here now, and I think that's the direction I'm going to go. I'm just making sure I'm not making a bonehead move, leaving somebody amazing out there, but I think that's the direction I'm going here. Let me make sure. Yeah, everybody there's. I'm going to go DK Metcalf.
Solid.
Metcalf's going to be, I think, having a really good year with Geno back here. I think a different offense in town here. So, I think that's the direction I'm going to go for my wide receiver 1. Feeling amazing. So,
there we go. Yeah. Metcalf is his wide receiver 1. Who knows how the rest of the field could go? That could be the last quarterback or last wide receiver that he does draft for a minute. And so, Ryan Grubb, Washington offense comes into play here with Seattle. There's been a lot of talk of that over the offseason. They've talked about moving DK Metcalf around the formation a lot more instead of leaving him locked in on one side of the field. I think that does nothing but good things for DK Metcalf. Really utilize him from a mismatch standpoint. I think you're going to see a guy like Metcalf get back into that area to where he is going to put up double-digit touchdowns. I think he's going to be back into the discussion of a wide receiver 1 here in 2024. I've got him ranked as right now over at Rotoballer.com, kind of a high-end wide receiver 2, but I feel like that upside can push him into the wide receiver 1 discussion. So I feel like that's a fantastic pick. They're here this late. That's the 9th pick of round 6. I'm going to have finally got Ryan McDowell coming into the Woo Fantasy Podcast here. Coming in, he's wearing this fantastic Scott Fish vest.
That's a good one.
Ryan, how are we doing, sir?
Doing well. Thank you guys for hosting.
No problem at all. We love it. I've done this now. This 3rd year in a row. We've done a live stream of the Scott Fish Bowl live draft. Nashville now. I feel like I'm at home. I live right down the road. How's the atmosphere? How you feeling?
It's great. And we were in Cincinnati last week. Awesome atmosphere there. This is matching it. It's a fun time. This place has been an awesome spot to have it. The staff is awesome. The drafters are awesome.
Yes, perfect. Absolutely. Let everybody know that here on the stream where to find you on X, what you're doing, promote anything you got out there currently.
Sure. Find me on X on Twitter at RyanMC23. Find my work on DynastyLeagueFootball.com. Just helping the fantasy cares, helping the SFB machine roll along.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. We've been pushing fantasy cares all show long. Get your donations in. Help them in, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate that. But you're not drafting today, right?
Well, I'm slow drafting today.
You're still slow drafting.
I'm watching the draft board.
So how's your draft unfolding so far?
Pretty good. I really want to go running back heavy this year, which was not the norm for me.
Hey, everybody listen up for about 10 seconds.
Got it. John, gotta love John.
Yeah, we gotta try to ignore it.
I need to be way more.
But anyway, as normal with SFB, it didn't go as planned. No running backs early. Mahomes, Kyler Murray to start, and then loaded up on wide receivers. So I think David Montgomery is my RB1. Najee Harris, RB2. So.
There we go.
Not terrible.
Not terrible.
They're getting solid RB2 guys, but they're going to get usage,
Right.
especially a Najee. Contract year, he's going to get a lot of work.
Yeah, we're chasing those carries for the
Exactly.
SFB scoring.
So, outside of that,
2024 draft guys. You familiar with exactly what you're saying?
the scoring change this year, of course, you know, come through a lot of people in a frenzy.
Yeah, always.
We were just talking about it because Shaheed just came off the board in the Goose division.
Yeah.
How do you feel about these guys with that return scoring?
You know, I think Shaheed's interesting because he's going to have a role in the offense as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why he's the one that people are chasing so much. But you know, it's risky, right? I mean, it's almost like chasing kickers because we see kickers, we see kick returners lose their jobs so quickly. So I've mostly stayed away from the kick returners. Like I said, Shaheed, I'm okay with, but outside of that, it gets a little dangerous.
Absolutely. But then next to that, we talked about like how the quarterbacks are kind of influence down the board, even though it's still super flex. You feel like that's kind of the best draft strategy to agree is kind of get your top tier quarterback early on. Obviously, you want to shoot for one with the rushing upside. You mentioned you got Kyler, right?
Yeah.
Kyler, amazing in this format. Should have a good year this year. But outside of that, there's really that line of demarcation. Guys get pushed down the board, different ones in the past. You've started with two quarterbacks. You should be good for a while.
Yeah, I think we're almost around 10, so I'm starting to think about that third quarterback option. But I mean, you look at this draft here, and first of all, that's why SFB is so great. Every draft is so different. You know, we work so hard on the mock drafts and the ADP, and then that gets thrown out the window as soon as we kick these off. I mean, I see Jaden Daniels here in the third round. I love him in that range. He's a great one to chase. Of course, we'll see how much Caleb runs. You know, that one's a little more risky, but yeah, there's so many running quarterbacks now that you can build that team around those guys too.
Yeah, so we'll switch over. I'll switch over to our division over here, the one I'm in with Goose. I went home run pick, Anthony Richardson at 2. Yeah, talked about it. I mentioned it ad nauseum. Guy led the league in that small sample size last year. Wins per touch. Health, stays healthy. I feel like he's a guy that's, depending on how your viewpoint is with Anthony Richardson, he can win the league. He can be a league breaker. How are you feeling with a guy like Anthony Richardson? I know you see a lot of variance with him on the Scott Fishbowl draft right now. What's your feeling with that upside? Are you willing to take on those kind of gambles?
Yeah, I mean, we've literally seen him go 1-1. He went 1-1 in my league. I was pretty bummed. I'm at the 6th spot and was hoping that he would be my pick. We've seen him fall to the late first, and I believe even early second in a couple, which is obviously a huge value. I mean, we know the story with Richardson. You know, it's all about that injury. If he's healthy, I think he's going to live up to that, you know, top 3, top 4 quarterback ADP. So, yeah, I love the risk at 2. We know SFB is just a big tournament. You've got to differentiate yourself somehow. You got to take some chances, and that's a pretty fun way to do it.
Absolutely.
I love that you got the Pittman stack later.
Yes.
The Colts offense. You know, we saw the first year in that coaching staff last year. Even after Richardson goes down, Taylor was in and out of the lineup. Basically, they lose their 2 best weapons for much of the year, and it still was a high-powered offense.
Yes.
I mean, the numbers improved so greatly from year to year. So I'm excited to see them this year.
And even still, too, in that division, the AFC South, you see a lot of those offenses starting to become more high-powered offenses. Points are going to have to be scored there. That bodes well. Second year is Shane Steichen's offense.
Yeah.
I think there's that learning curve's kind of out of the way. Like you mentioned, he stays healthy. That's a banger of a guy for fantasy right now. But outside of that, what's your other takeaways? What are your feelings for the remainder of your particular draft?
Pretty balanced so far. Again, like I said, starting to think about that third quarterback. You know, kind of moving almost to a full lineup. I think it's always interesting too
to see where the kickers start coming off the board. No kickers have been taken in my league yet, but I am on MFL, so you can flex kickers there, and the scoring there kind of pushes those guys up the board. So interesting to see where kickers and kick returners come off, which is crazy. That's not something I say in any of my other leagues. Only SMB.
Cool. But, I appreciate it. Ryan, great to have you on. Ryan McDowell, ladies and gentlemen, on the show. Let him back into that. Have fun, hang out. Thanks. Have a good one.
Whatever you call it around the country, wherever you're at, what do you call it?
Love bringing on the guys. Talking to him. Ryan McDowell there, ladies and gentlemen. You know him. You've talked to him on X, on Twitter for quite a while now. The guys that I've had to get back and forth.
The star of the show is back. Hold on. Thank you.
Was it Lewis or Smith? Who scored that? Smith or
John Bosch is just having an absolute blast on the microphone hosting this event right now.
Nonetheless, I'll get back into it. Yes, if you want to go in Nashville live continuously, you know what we need to do? We need to show the proper support. We award the lives to the cities that show the support. You guys got 24 drafters here? That's good. That's good. Does anybody know how many we had in Cincinnati? Emily? 72. We had 72 drafters. You think this is fun? Imagine this times 3. Like the way we grow this is by getting the right amount of support.
72 drafters. Scott Bowl live event in Cincinnati.
I will say for us hosting in Atlanta last year, Scott Bowl in the South, we gotta start improving a little bit here. 2 drafts the last couple years, 2 drafts in Nashville here.
Yeah.
Definitely going to try to start getting the word out even a little bit more about Scott Fishbowl. Hopefully get a lot more live drafts. We got a lot of people watching here. Sign up. Yeah, sign up for Scott Fishbowl. Come to a live draft. Live draft is fun. I made the trip from Atlanta this morning. You made the trip from Atlanta 3 hours away. Yep. You made the trip from 2 hours away. It's definitely one of those things. Like if you're in the South, if you're anywhere close, heck, if you just want to come to Nashville and come have fun.
I mean, it's Nashville.
We're in downtown Nashville.
We're a couple blocks away from world famous Broadway.
Scott, is he still around? Can Scott come on and beg? Donate.
Yes, absolutely. John Bosch putting out there, we have to donate. Fantasy Cares, ladies and gentlemen, put your donations in today. Like I mentioned too, I've said several times now, go and subscribe to the Woo Fantasy YouTube page because I will be adding in my donation at the end of this live event, and I'll let you know how much that's going to be once we get there. So definitely go do that and sign up and sub today. Give us a like over there at Woo Fantasy as well too. Or the podcast. The podcast available everywhere, whether it's on iTunes, whether it's on Spotify, Woo Fantasy. Go and download that. Give us a like. Leave us a fantastic review. You're watching this live stream today, ladies and gentlemen. We're about 2 hours in. Let us know how we're doing. Give us a thumbs up. Give us some comments. Give us some reviews. We'll keep doing this if you like it. That's the biggest thing. We want the support from everyone out there in the fantasy community. That's why we do this. I've been in the fantasy community since the industry started back in 2016 when I've been a steady contributor.
Have we been doing the show this long?
Not been doing the podcast that long, but I've been doing fantasy industry talk. Been articles, rankings, and stuff since 2016. So I've been around for quite a while.
You're going to make me feel really weird if we've been doing this podcast for almost 10 years. So.
No, not yet.
All right, I'm on the board here.
Back up. Raheem goes first pick of 7th round here.
I was thinking about going in the 7th round with him here just to go ahead and tap and hit that. So here's my board right here. Definitely not considering one of the return guys here. Maybe very soon I have an opportunity to get double points. I don't think I necessarily want to go that direction just yet. For me, it was between Amari Cooper and Devonta Smith. I think that's the direction that I'm going here. Let me look at running back one more time here, see what we got rolling. 249. I like the depth of running back right here just a little bit more. I think with me definitely waiting on the start for wide receiver.
There's our guy Dante, DB. My guy
Dante.
from Jackson. He's in the SBFFC with us as well.
So
absolutely. What up, DB? Hope you're doing good today, brother.
I think I'm gonna go Devonta Smith here.
Devonta Smith.
Am I crazy for doing that? What do you think? I like some of the running backs here.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like we got a whole lot of guys right in the middle.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It just depends on what. If you want a guy that's going to be a steady contributor like a Devonta Smith, or if you want to swing for the fences type of a pick.
Who's your swing for the fences?
For me, looking at the board and what's available for you there, Tank Dale is an absolute swing for the fence type pick.
If I did not see Stephon Diggs there, Tank would absolutely be my guy here. But Devonta Smith is definitely where I'm going to go.
So we're going to go Devonta Smith. So you went DK Metcalf, followed it up with Devonta Smith. Those are your top 2 wide receivers through 7 rounds in the Marcellus Wallace division of Scott Fishbowl 14. Ladies and gentlemen. So switching back over to the Goose division, kind of checking up the board here. We did have Deshaun Watson come off the board. I have my qualms about Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure that rushing upside is going to be there for Deshaun. So we look at him and view him as a guy that can add a little bit to your stat line with the rushing ability, but I don't know. I question that with him. Coming into this year, especially. DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs were the 2 picks followed by that. Looking at the stickers on the board, but they haven't been added into the app yet. Got Ken Walker, followed by Ramondre Stevenson, were the next 2 picks in the Goose division here, so I'm waiting for those to get added in. Our buddy Breeze putting in one of his first picks here to end the round.
First running back off the board.
Oh, wow. Not a bad pick either. Love that, actually. His first running back he takes is James Conner. So we talked about it on the running back show just the other night with Woo Fantasy. That's a guy that I have high hopes for. James Conner. Heavy usage, going to get the ball a lot, which is very valuable in this particular format with Scott Fishbowl. So getting him as late here in round 6 just really speaks to what we talked about. You know, there's some of these running backs, because so much of that influx with the wide receivers that are getting drafted, you're going to get those running backs pushed down the board a little bit further. So that's a solid pick there to end the 6th round.
Oh, Najee right behind.
And it goes
double tap.
Yeah, double taps the running back position there. It goes Najee Harris. That is great. Get those 2 running backs this late. I like that. But looking at his team, the way he started right now, he's going Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, Jaden Daniels, Jake Ferguson, Nico Collins, now with James Conner and Najee Harris. How do you feel about that start?
I mean, not a huge fan.
Not a huge fan.
I think to me the play for me definitely is not wide receivers early in this draft. I think if you're going to go Daniels, which again I think is a good pick, but I do not want him as my 1 in this format. I think if you get him, I think you have to go another one. Jake Ferguson, I think, is a back end tight end 1, is good in this format, but I think I do not want him. Yeah, I think obviously a little bit tougher to draft at the end of the draft here, but I think if he mixed in a running back, if he switched a running back like a Saquon or Jonathan Taylor in place of Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra, I would feel a lot better about the team.
So let me ask from this perspective, if he would have started and say taken one of either Amon-Ra or Jamar Chase there with the 112, and then taking Kyler Murray, then Jaden Daniels, how would you feel about this?
Solid build.
Yeah.
Solid build.
That's what I was feeling. That's what I was looking at, like the way that team would look to me with this format if he would have went Kyler there at the beginning of round 2.
I think in a regular format, that would be amazing. But I think we got to know. I think we got to know the format. And everything here. So those guys aren't going to be bad. They're going to get you points, but I think your opportunity cost when you're losing out at quarterback, at running back. I think in this format, you really got to hit on these picks coming up. So you just really got. I mean, you got to hit a home run like a Puka Nacua or a Kyron Williams here to be able to make that team worthy. If you do, hats off. We'll see what Breeze does. I generally like Breeze's teams. He's generally done really good in Scott baseball.
Yeah, so. He's quite the smart drafter. I'll give him that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I saw the other day he's going to be doing some work with Fantrax this year. So congrats to him moving over to work with Fantrax.
See if we can get him to talk.
Sure. But looking at the board there after the Najee Harris pick here in the Goose division, now we have David Njoku coming off the board, followed by T. Higgins, followed by Brock Bowers, which it just kind of goes to show you what we talked about as looking at Marcellus Wallace. You have Brock Bowers going at the 5-12, and then switching over to the Goose division, Brock Bowers going at the 7-4. It's just crazy there how that's going and taken apart.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah. Coming in there, Breeze coming in. So coming in, man, how's it going? You're at the 112.
Brandon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I was just telling them, if I'm not mistaken, you're doing some work with Fantrax this year, right?
Yeah, so I recently joined the team like a little over 2 weeks ago. Got some stuff that I'm working on that'll be coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that.
Definitely. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. No, we're live. I'm talking right now.
Yeah, we're live. We're live out here to everyone on the internet. But we were talking about your build. That's why Nick went and grabbed you. You're at the 112. Let me know your thought process going Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase to start your draft.
So the name of the game, we want to chase ceiling, right? So I figured that there'll probably be an early quarterback run to start off the draft. So I wanted to zag while everybody in the front started zigging. So I said, why not get two receivers who can give me 100+ catches to kind of chase that ceiling to start my foundation for my team. So that's why I went with those two to start off my team.
Yeah. And Jaden Daniels is QB1, attacking that rushing upside with the scoring format. If there are any nerves with the Jaden Daniels, body, build, potential injury risk, how do you feel about him as your QB1 coming into this?
For this format, I'm actually okay with it because I can get a piece of that rushing baseline. Like I said, I knew it would be an early quarterback run. Was really disappointed to see Richardson go 102, by the way.
Yeah.
I figured he wouldn't make it to me, so I said to myself, I'm probably going to miss out on Kyler, but if I can get Jaden Daniels, I'll be pretty happy with him as QB1. And, injuries, that's for anybody. Anybody could be at risk for injury, so I'm not really focusing on that aspect. But rookie quarterbacks tend to do pretty good, especially rushing ones when they come into the league. So I just said to myself, why not take a shot on to get a chance to see what Jaden Daniels going to be about for this team.
Sure. And then followed that up with Jake Ferguson. A little bit of a stab at me. I was hoping, as you wanted Richardson to fall to you, and I think Richardson at the 1-2, I was hoping Ferguson miraculously could fall back to me there at the end of that round, and that did not happen. So good. I like that pick there with as your tight end one. Sure. Right, me down. I was trying to sell the kid on the silent auction.
So we'll see, all right? So with the Ferguson pick, I figured I was going to be waiting for a while after the Daniels pick. I knew a few tight ends would go. I was hoping there at least be one or two decent ones left that gives me an opportunity to be the first or second read in a good offense. So when I saw that he was there, I said, I'm not going to even play around but go ahead and draft him, because if I pass on him this time, I know he ain't coming back to me when I get back on the clock.
Right. So, like, how much do you put into play? Like, I've talked about it. Like, I'm on the other end of the board at 1-2. How much do you put into play that you have to draft guys and reach for them more playing at the end, as opposed to kind of really following along and just grabbing guys based on the ADP and being around that area?
I mean, like you said, whenever you on the turn, you kind of got to throw ADP out of the window, because you just really want to focus on getting your guys, because chances are if you wait and say to yourself, I think so-and-so might come around, chances are they're not going to make it back to you when you get back on the clock. So I kind of just throw ADP out of the window whenever I'm drafting to the turn. I'm going to just get my guys.
Right, yeah.
We'll see, okay? We will see.
It was a solid sales job by Ryan McDowell on the silent auction ring here with the Scott Fishbowl ring.
Continuously never help your cause. I heard you the first time, okay?
I just want it.
I know.
It's mine.
Okay, we'll see.
I will pay for it.
Oh, he's going to pay for it.
Go ahead. Now all accounts, please don't pay for it.
It said it's $35. I have 29.
Oh, you're really short, man.
Well, I actually have 20. You give me 10. You give me 15 for the bike.
We'll see, seriously. We'll see, okay? Can I finish this real quick?
But you just finished your last two picks. You got your first two running backs, James Conner, Najee Harris. I commended you on those. Those are solid picks based on the scoring format. Love those two picks. So now you're 7 picks in. Doing the next 3 picks today before we kind of wrap it up for the day. What's your thought process and how you hope the board falls in your favor the next few picks?
Honestly, I'm not sure how the board gonna fall, as we wrap around this 7-8 turn here. But if I could just find, 2-3 more gems that's beneficial for this format, I feel really good about my chances going into the season. I know position starting to get a little thin, so really got to be strategic with these next picks.
Absolutely. Dude, good having you on here. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Breeze at the end of the round here. Have fun the rest of the day.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk to you before we leave. But where we are on the drafts here, I'll switch it back over and look at Marcellus Wallace division, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of catch things up. Back here, we are talking about Devontae Smith's pick there, 4th pick, round 7. That was followed by Zay Flowers, David Montgomery, and then Najee Harris. Finally comes off the board in this division here at the 7th pick of round 7. Things are you're getting into those pockets in these drafts right now where you're starting to see a lot of those guys in the same type of areas. So you're getting a kind of a better idea of where some of these players are going to go.
All right, here we go.
We're back in. I'm about to be back on the clock yet again. We got Aaron Jones followed by George Pickens going to Dr. Harwood of the SBFFC. In that pick right ahead of me, just 2 in front of me. So at that point, we're going to kind of look. I want to kind of get an idea.
One receiver, 2 quarterbacks. Where are you fingers crossed at here? Let's see what we got.
Looking at the board, kind of where some of these guys are right now. So that's the George Pickens pick there. I know what I'm potentially thinking. Huh.
Going in the wide receiver board here for Drew. Pick 3. Chris Godwin. Chrisman.
So I think what I'm looking at here, thought process wise, I think I'm going to, my first pick, because I'm looking at the guy that's back behind me on the board, obviously.
Has no running backs.
Has no running back, so I don't have to really.
Has 3 receivers. You would think he probably wouldn't go.
He's not going to go wide receiver.
Probably not going quarterback. I don't think you are either.
But I do think that there's the potential that he's going to go tight end. And I'm thinking I might want to get back into the tight end business here.
Yeah.
Next best available tight end that's on the board that I'm looking at right here is Dallas Goedert.
Okay. I was looking at him too. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
Don't love it?
Yeah. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just kind of a pick.
Tight end 2. Well, he's the tight end 2 in this particular scoring. So
the tight end 2 or
he'll be a tight end 2 for me in this scoring. So I think that gives me a little bit of a benefit.
I think you made it stand up.
Oh, sure, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, let me get a picture here. Put me on pause here just for a second, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take a picture of the guys here and the rest of the group. Let him and Ella go in here.
If you're here to celebrate SFB, you get the whether you draft or not, you get the picture. If you're in the middle, you tuck down a little and see the sponsors. That makes me nervous. No, you're good. Just FYI, I'm saying. What do you think, guys? I'm trying to get you back. Like our sponsors. There we go.
All right, so coming back in, ladies and gentlemen, we took the ceremonial group photo of all drafters here. Scott Fishbowl 14, Tailgate Brewery, Music Row, Nashville, Tennessee. Back to business here, though. Just had Chris Godwin coming off the board here right in front of me.
I will tell you in the chat, everybody needs to tweet it out. And thank the sponsors.
Looking at the board, the premium. I think the premium scoring is going to kind of urge me to go that direction. I think that's what I'm going to do. But let me look first, real quick. I want to look at the other board too to see where Dallas Goedert went, or if he's off the board yet.
He's the next tight end on the board.
He's the next tight end on the board in that particular division too. Let's see here, I want to kind of look and check ADP as well, just to kind of get an idea, a little bit more of an idea on where he might potentially go, see if it's not too bad of a reach. Let's see. Yeah, according to the ADP, that's
somebody actually took him and altered his ADP up,
which is hilarious.
14, Goddard's 13. Overall value, what is that?
It's 88.
6 and 12 is 72.
Yeah, so I would be taking him ahead of value. The direction that I am going to go, I'm going to go and I'm going to do a second stack. And I'm going to go ahead and take Christian Kirk, wide receiver, Jacksonville Jaguars, and go back-to-back stack. I'm probably one of the ones in the industry, might be a little bit higher on Christian Kirk. But we saw, last year he was a little bit banged up. Injuries played a factor in a lot of things. Yeah, lost some of the touchdown looks with Calvin Ridley there. He was one of the guys that was ranked higher at the position.
I think it's a good pick. I don't think
but
keep it on the deal. I think you're okay for Goddard coming back.
Oh, well, I'm probably at this rate, I might not even take Goddard on the way back. I don't know. Looking at the board, just kind of studying some things here and seeing how it looks. Zamir White goes right behind me. But I wanted to get back to Christian Kirk. The healthy season that he had 2 years ago, his first year in Jacksonville, putting up pretty much borderline wide receiver one numbers. Getting here at the 11th pick of the 7th round, he's another stack that I have available to my disposal. I think I was kind of had to make that kind of a pick. Because I was even looking at Christian Kirk, whether it be my first selection or my second selection on the draft here.
Christian Kirk just went in mine, right about the same spot.
Yeah, pretty much. Tank Dale goes Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin. It's kind of in that same clump. It's like I mentioned a minute ago. You're getting a lot of these players that are kind of coming off the board in similar areas that you're starting to see.
And we've actually caught back up. But my draft is a little bit ahead of yours for a hot minute, but we are pretty much E right now.
Yeah, pulling about dead even.
All right,
here.
you're back. See, I told you you'd be okay if you waited on Goddard, but are you going that early?
Man. It's one of those things, like you look at the board, study how things are kind of unfolding, how the players are kind of coming off right now.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
It definitely is. Let me look here if there's other players down the board that I might be interested in, because I have a feeling that he's going to come off the board fairly soon. But you know what? I think I'm going to jump back into the running back market. And I'm going to take David Montgomery here at this selection. And that gives me solid core running backs here. David Montgomery will be my third. Thought about I really, really wavered on Dallas Goedert there. I wanted to take the second tight end because of the premium scoring. If I don't hit on a guy like a Dallas Goedert coming back around the next couple of picks, I think I might have a chance to get another guy over the course of these next two picks.
Let's go.
Yeah, Ryan talking about he finally pulled the trigger for a live draft tomorrow in Minnesota. Congrats. Like we've said, that's the way to go. Live drafting with the Scott Fish Bowl is fantastic. All the new friends you get to make while you're here, that's one of the better things about it.
It's not just the NBA that's fantastic.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, because, too, they're bringing back the old John Tesh NBA music. It's a good segue to bring that up, because it's going back to the NBC probably once all the negotiations are finalized. I digress. But we are kind of wrapping up last couple of rounds here.
We'll go through 10 today.
Doing 10 today, like you mentioned. How are you feeling so far? Let me switch over to yours and kind of look at yours. Hawkinson just comes off the board there.
So far, so good. Yeah, I think I'm kind of right where I want to be. There is a pick or two I would like to hit on. I'll be feeling really good at this point right now. But, yeah, Hollywood.
Yeah, both of us kind of from working from separate sides of the board, kind of working on similar builds.
Which is kind of interesting consider.
Rushing upside quarterback for your QB1. Both have Trey McBride as our tight end 1.
Both have Trevor Lawrence as our QB2, which has at least a little rushing ability. Yep. So not completely void of that with our QB2.
So we were talking about, I was talking about it a few minutes ago with Ryan McDowell too. We talked about he was interested to see when kickers were introduced. How early are you potentially eyeing that? Because in the sleeper drafts, we do have to have it.
We do. Last year, at least one, if not 2 teams had a quarterback, had a kicker before we ended the 10th round. So I'm going to say at least one team has a kicker before we leave here today.
Good. Yeah.
I won't be that person.
Not going to be that person.
I'm gonna wait till a little bit. Back to where I think you definitely want a kicker that has a good offense behind him. Yep. With the points for extra points and everything there, so I think you definitely want that.
Yeah, so, getting the 3.3 per extra point, and also a point for every yard that a field goal made is for. So
I think I'm definitely going to wait just a little bit. What about you? I know you love kickers. So.
Yes, I love them. I think they should be in all fantasy leagues. Absolutely. No. I mean, kickers should be devoid of all fantasy.
You speak nonsense.
But the way the scoring is set up, like we mentioned in this league, they're valuable. Like for me, I think it would be a situation is obviously we want to study the board and how things are unfolding. I kind of eye that area of around like 13. It's kind of the area where I really want to look for the kicker coming off the board.
What's first kicker? Where's average ADP on the board here for kickers?
Average ADP
I'm gonna
for
say,
place kicker.
Oh, not even a kicker yet. Place kicker.
Place kicker will be the title for this.
Let's see. Got to be ahead of that. Looking for a low number, but not seeing one there.
Place kicker, Justin Tucker, coming off the board, overall 151 currently.
We're looking about round 13. So.
Yeah, just around about that. So kind of where I figured I would start thinking about quarterbacks coming off the board. That's what I feel like that's where you're looking at. Around about the 13th round or so in that area. A lot of people want to they don't want to study that, how important kicking or scoring can be in this format. Brandon Aubrey was a guy that I had in this format last year. Was an absolute stud. Led the league in points. Was the top kicker in fantasy last year. Nobody knew who he was coming into the season. Bill Underwood pointing out, he says, wait on kicker until preseason. Take a flyer on somebody instead.
Unfortunately, we can't do that. We have to have a kicker before we leave. So.
Yeah. Not before we leave, but before the draft is over.
Before we leave our drafts and get done with our round.
Yeah, we have to roster a kicker for sure in our Scott Fishbowl drafts on sleeper. That is
which I will say, if I wasn't on sleeper, I think you absolutely need to roster a kicker. I mean, consistent points. If you go back last year,
absolutely,
you're getting consistent points from these guys. So I think it's definitely something not to sleep on.
Sure,
even if you're not on sleeper.
A lot of these guys are going to put up points that are going to rival what you'll see at wide receiver 3 in certain weeks, and you're going to be able to put him in one of your flex spots.
You guys signed the sponsor board yet? Sign
No.
the sponsor board!
John having a cough party.
It's time for another beer before I make another pick.
Oh, yeah, that is right.
Sally, you need some water?
Yes, actually. More water. No, that's a great pick. I didn't see him on the ADP there, Ryan, but Ryan Bolts brings up a great point there. I do remember that. I was watching one of those live drafts last weekend before that Jeff Lambert was in, and he did raise. He offered that draft spot up at 1-1 to someone for the Fantasy Cares charity, and then that's what happened. They said go take Evan McPherson. So, yeah, I agree with you there. I forget about that. I was at the gym watching that live stream, and I remember that happening. Yes, Bill Underwood. We do have to draft one. I think they won't allow us to be done with our final fishbowl draft without a kicker. And I think, too, it's a little bit of a gentleman's rule, so to speak, gentleman, ladies' rule, whatever you want to say, is that everybody's going to go ahead and take a kicker, I believe. Yeah, or at least that's how I've always seen ours going to come off with our draft. So it looks like in my Goose division, I had David Montgomery, where I took second pick, round 8. Jonathan Brooks comes off the board. Tyjae Spears comes off the board. Jonathan Brooks is the RB2 for Drew, team 3 here. Tyjae Spears goes to Dr. Harwood for the SBFFC. Big Titans fan here live in Nashville. So kind of a homer pick there, so to speak. And Kirk Cousins goes there, pick 5 in round 8.
Did everybody
Quarterback
sign the
2.
sponsor board? Like I said, Ryan's got a van button. He's not afraid to use
Bill
it.
saying Bosch is
He's a
boshing.
valuable person.
Bosch is absolutely boshing currently. Going through, making sure, getting everybody that's here at the live draft. We're going through and signing the sponsor board and everything. Travis jumping in. Travis checking everything on the silent auction board currently. Travis jumping back in. How are things going, Travis?
Pretty good. We're actually about to announce the results for some of these subscriptions that were donated. Some generous subscriptions donated by the late round QB himself, JJ Zacharias.
Right.
Legendary upside, of course, Pat Corain there. And then we got late round QB, the draft guide and prospect guide for next year, actually. PFF did a subscription for them.
Fantastic.
Rotowire, one of the sponsors here with us.
Great.
Dynasty Trade Calculator. Dynasty League Football. Ryan McDowell is actually here right now.
Yep.
Did he hop on here?
He came on. We talked to Ryan.
Okay, I tried to make him come on. I was like,
Yeah, we grabbed him and pulled him out.
Good. He's not on enough shows. Fantasy Pros, and then Football Guys. Man, we had so many amazing sponsors.
Yeah,
we're about to
those are
announce
excellent sponsors that popped in today. Yeah.
So let's announce those right now.
Everything for Fantasy Cares. Go put your donations in. We kept signing that.
It's been a great day in Nashville. We actually this year we did 2 live drafts, and had a lot to do with the number of signups this first time. It's our first time doing Nashville.
Yeah, first time.
But hopefully the goal is to really, maybe even double it next year. So
we would love to grow it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love
so,
to.
I appreciate you doing this live stream, man.
No problem at all, Travis.
Yeah.
Let's get those subscriptions handed out.
I love, by the way, Bill. Thank you. Bosch is boshing. Oh
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah,
He's
I
grabbing the
pointed
mic
that
from
out.
me, and it's just great.
It's absolutely great. We've enjoyed Bosch in the background all day today on the stream.
I'm sure you heard mostly just him.
Yes.
That's good. Thank
Good
you,
deal.
listeners. Thank you, Brandon.
No
How about
problem.
announce some winners? But
Yeah, let's get those winners.
Yeah.
Travis giving out the winners. Like I said, we're kind of getting down to the tail end of this live event. It's been a fantastic time today here at Tailgate Brewery. Obviously, my voice has taken a beating today during this so far, this 2.5 hours. So we'll have to do some recoup time. But other than that, it's been a fantastic event. First time for Nashville, just like Travis mentioned. Been a good event. Things have been going off very smooth. But obviously, he mentioned it. We mentioned it as well. We want to grow this Nashville live event. We want more divisions in Nashville next year. So go sign up for Scott Fishbowl 15, scottfishbowl.com. Put in your league preferences. Say you want to draft live and point your location to Nashville. I mentioned earlier, if you're just a few hours away and you want to drive here and hang out with us, we're going to do this again next year with this Nashville live draft if we're hosting it again next year. Woo Fantasy will be hosting this podcast, this live stream again next year. Obviously, big kudos to Fantasy Cares out there. Shout out to those guys for letting us do this on the YouTube channel with them too as well. Big ups to those guys over at Fantasy Cares. Big ups. Tip of the cap to my good friend there, Scott Fish. Known him quite a few years now. Met him in person for the first time back a few years ago at Flex Draft in Washington, D.C. If you've never met Scott in person, everything they say about him online is 100% the truth. Fantastic guy, great to talk to, easy to know. I mean, just a very humble individual, very nice. Like I said, tip of the cap, Scott Fish, for giving the Scott Fish Bowl and creating this nationwide, really now worldwide event, which is known as the Scott Fish Bowl.
I'm up here.
Coming back over, we'll flip it back over here.
Goddard, I tell you what, Goddard was going to be my pick. So I am trying to figure out. I'm not going to go another tight end here. If Pikeman's on the board, maybe I go that direction. Looking at some running backs here is kind of probably my target here. There's a lot of wide receivers on the board that's right around that same mark. So running back, I've got Tajay Spears, Raheem Mostert's available, Javonte, Nick Chubb, and Tony Pollard. What would you do?
I'm not touching Nick Chubb with yours, as we talked about on the podcast the other night. I'm not talking Nick. I don't have any type of Nick Chubb. I don't want that at all. I would lean more Pollard.
It's kind of the direction I'm thinking about going. I thought about Spears maybe, but I think Pollard may be going. I think he's probably going to be my pick. So that's the direction I'm going.
Yeah, that would probably be my lean. Little bit. Kind of had a small inkling, but I think you can kind of wait a little bit. Jaylen Warren's a guy that's interesting in that range as well. Jaylen Warren could potentially get some heavy usage in that Arthur Smith system with Pittsburgh this year. Could see a little bit of uptick with potential usage in the red zone. We saw Arthur Smith last year kind of spread out the love when it comes to red zone usage there. So Tony Pollard's the pick there for Nick. They're coming in towards the end of round 8. Coming back over to the Goose division here in my division. Dallas Goedert does come off the board. My gosh. Really was hoping to see him there.
Aaron off the board in your team.
About to get put in. Oh, wow. A little bit of a late 8th-round quarterback run taking place in the Goose division. So we have Kirk Cousins there, like I mentioned a minute ago. DeAndre Swift, Dallas Goedert, Hollywood Brown. Now we're getting into a little bit of the quarterback run. Looks like it's going to be Matthew Stafford, followed by Aaron Rodgers, followed by Baker.
Big Daddy Bates.
Big Daddy Bates coming there.
What's your strategy? Are you taking a QB3? What's your thoughts? What are you doing? What is your plans? Are you taking a quarterback?
I'm absolutely taking a third quarterback. That goes without saying. But honestly, I'm shocked. I'll say I'm shocked. PFF subscription getting sent out the door there. I'll say this, I'm shocked but not shocked. My target for third quarterback was going to be Will Levis, who goes
I just noticed he went.
Who goes round 7, pick 6.
We are in Nashville.
We are in Nashville. So that's why I prefaced it with saying I'm shocked but not shocked because of where we're at. But I am waiting the lonely wait right now to swing back around the 9th round for me. Matthew Stafford goes right off the board, right into your Pollard pick, followed by Jaden Reed. And Jaden Reed has been a hot button issue.
Very polarizing.
very polarizing in the fantasy community. A lot of people talking about that Green Bay wide receiver rotation, how things are going to be viewed. Well, how do you view the Green Bay wide receiver rotation? Do you see Reed as being the unquestioned wide receiver one there? Or would you wait a few rounds and target a Christian Watson, who typically has the higher target share when healthy and on the field?
Even our boy Romeo Dobbs. I mean, it reminds me a lot, granted on a little bit smaller scale, of the Texans situation. You've got 3 wide receivers. I would lean to not take the highest draft of them all. I'd rather have, like in the Texans, I'd rather have Tank Dell. In this situation, I'd probably rather go Romeo Dobbs or Christian Watson. So, again, I don't have a problem with that here. He was pretty close up on the board next. I don't think I view him as the alpha in that offense. But Will Levis goes in orange.
Now Will Levis off the board, and Marcellus Wallace with
a backup of Calvin Ridley, right?
Goes with the stack. We continue to talk about it on this podcast, but it is stacking has become the name of the game when it comes to big field tournaments like this, especially with best ball, like on Underdog. A lot of guys going and getting their stacks. You're seeing that done there. And I think that is a very, very undervalued stack. Will Levis and Calvin Ridley. I think that's going to be a nice battery, so to speak.
I will be honest, like you, I was really hoping Will Levis for my QB3. With us being in Nashville, I really didn't expect that to happen. But no, I think Levis is going to be a good QB2 in this format and everything here. There's definitely a target of mine. There are 2 that I would love to go with as well. But Levis has got the offense here in town. Look, they've got 2 really good receivers. They've got some receiving backs coming in. Tony Pollard that I just took, Tajay Spears, Chigaconquo. So he's going to have all the weapons possible.
Absolutely. I believe looking at my last rankings update that I put on rotoballer.com, and of course with Fantasy Pros as well, Will Levis, I'm actually above market on the consensus in the industry right now. I've got a lot of hopes for that offense, not because I think Will Levis is this great talented quarterback.
Wait, what did you just say?
A lot of upside for the talent for the Titans offense. Wow. Yeah. But that's more or less because from a usage standpoint, they're going to throw the ball a ton. And when it comes to fantasy, that's what you want. You want your production coming from areas where you're going to see a lot of value. A lot of guys are going to get used. I think that's what they're going to do with Tennessee this year. Levis is going to throw the ball a lot. You know, if you look at a lot of the underlying metrics, he's not great. You know, on target throw, things of that nature. But like you mentioned, they brought in a lot of talent for this team this year. They want to see what they've got in Levis to figure out if they needed to go a different direction at quarterback over the next couple of years. Everything's kind of lined up for him to be a guy that's going to produce heavily in 2024
and be successful. I mean, I definitely think he is one of those guys that has all the ability to be able to do that. So,
Stephen Campbell pointed out here on the stream, he took the Levis Ridley stack at the exact same spot. Great minds think alike, Stephen Campbell. Hopefully you are enjoying your Scott Fishbowl draft as well. And everyone, of course, like I mentioned, that's watching out on Fantasy Cares on the YouTube channel, go subscribe to Woo Fantasy, the channel on YouTube. Getting towards the tail end of this draft event, I'm going to donate Fantasy Cares for all the new subscribers that I'm pulling in to the Woo Fantasy YouTube channel. So go over there and help us out there. We would greatly appreciate that. But coming back over here to Breeze, comes in, finishing up over here round 8, coming in the first pick around 9. He goes Terry McLaurin, followed by Geno Smith. Geno Smith let a lot of people down in 2023. We mentioned it earlier with the DK Metcalf discussion with Nick's team. Ryan Grubb's offense coming in this year with the Seattle Seahawks. Gone is the Pete Carroll administration. How do you feel with Geno Smith this year? New offense. Do you feel like he's going to lean more back towards where he was 2022? Or do you feel like Geno Smith, as we saw last year, is more of the regular Geno Smith?
I think we're going to see somewhere actually in between. I don't think we're going to see 2 years ago Geno Smith. That was off the chart, Geno Smith. Nobody expected that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was last year. I think the new offense coming in, I think we're going to be a little bit better. Henceforth, I like DK Metcalf a little bit this year. So, but I think somewhere in the middle of 2 years ago and last year.
Yeah, we're going to ride the fence on that right there in the medium. Here comes Boshing more.
Hello, folks. All right, I found the button. This is dangerous. Okay, a couple of things. We're about to give away a few more footballs. Emily and Ryan are getting their throwing shoulders loose. Ryan's getting his throwing shoulder loose. Emily is moving around awkwardly, acting like she's not going to get her throwing shoulder loose. She's queen waving. That's basically the same thing. All right, if you win a prize, how do you donate for it? Do we see these beautiful QR codes that come covered by their iPad? The QR codes are how you donate. Use the QR code, make the donation. You are going to get an email that'll show your donation. Show that to Travis. Travis will reward you your prize. Are there Titans fans anywhere around here still? No. Yeah, Titans suck. Nobody said anything.
Absolutely not.
We got it. The Titans are terrible. I know, the whole division's terrible. Like Houston, terrible.
John Bosch is out here
terrible.
killing local Titans fans right now.
Terrible. NFC South terrible. All right. Nonetheless, who drafted Will Levis? We got one. Who else drafted Will Levis?
John Bosch asking who the Will Levis drafters were in the room.
Everybody's being quiet.
And the man that raises his hand is wearing a Oilers jersey. Shocking.
Raise your hand up if you drafted Will Levis. All right. We got a completion, folks.
And we got a catch.
Ricky left. Hopefully he is in the end of the
So we're about to come back up to Nick here in round 9.
Raise your hand if you want to boo Ricky.
Keenan Allen comes off the board, a couple picks in front of him.
Somebody boo Ricky.
Waiting on the selection at pick 3 of round 9. So
I'm thinking either. So I've got a couple of different directions I could possibly go in.
Yep.
Raheem Mostert's hopping off the page here.
Emily.
Tajay Spears, I don't necessarily want to go another Titan running back. So probably between him.
You get Ricky's football. Ricky does not get his football.
Don't really want Rasheed Rice this early.
Don't commit to 10 rounds.
Like I said, that's a very hot button issue for Rasheed Rice currently.
Maybe next time around, but I don't know that I want to go that direction at least right now.
Really bad move when me and Ryan are here. That's going to make the wrong people mad.
I think I'm going to stick with, let's see. What do I want to do?
So the team in front of you, the third pick in the 9th round, is one of the 2 teams in your division, or 4 teams that have yet to get a tight end so far through 8 rounds, full 8 rounds.
He didn't get it here either.
There we
go. Jordan Addison.
Now that puts you up on the clock. Like you mentioned, you got kind of a very balanced roster based on draft right now. So you can kind of go in several different ways. But do you give more credence to the scoring format with this and look running back? Or are you trying to grab the value at a different position?
More than likely, the direction that I'm going is probably trying to grab the value here at the running back position. Do I go Javonte?
Well, Javonte, if you want to look, we'll switch it over here to the Goose division. Javonte just goes off the board.
Sure.
Right, a couple picks before where you are at currently.
I mean, he's in a contract here if I remember correctly. Really,
he's a very polarizing player. We mentioned that because Sean Payton doesn't seem like he's committed to him.
I would say he's probably more committed to I would say maybe his backup, Mr. Jaleel McLaughlin.
Correct.
So,
it feels like there's more there, and Audric Estime.
It's kind of a weird pick. I mean, Zach Moss is sitting there. I don't necessarily love Zach Moss either. We got some value there. Tight end, we got Dalton Schultz sitting there.
Yeah.
Patty Freiermuth. Don't necessarily love him in that offense. All right, Twitterverse, what do you think?
Yeah, where do you think? Looking at the board right now,
I'm intrigued.
What area would you go with Nick's team here? 4th pick, round 9, based on kind of looking at the way his team is unfolding right here. Would you go running back? Would you go wide receiver? What's the thought process here that we need to follow? Shoot the comments in there. He's on the clock.
I'm intrigued. I think I know what direction I'm going with. What am I missing?
Definitely a fun decision in round 9, apparently.
Taysom Hill for a couple rounds from now, though. Kidding.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that are on your board that I'm liking, but you could probably wait on.
Sure. No, I agree.
You ain't fool nobody.
Where are you going with, babe?
I'm going to take John Hopkins.
Receiver?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably where I would go in your position here. There's a guy that you just put your name on him.
That's where you would go?
That he is going to be a heavily targeted wide receiver in the offense that he is in.
I believe that's where we're going.
The selection that he is going to make here, and 3rd wide receiver off the board for Nick Hefley here, 4th pick, round 9. He's going to select Deontay Johnson, wide receiver, Carolina Panthers. We've seen so many metrics point to Deontay Johnson as being a guy that's completely undervalued. Can separate with the best of them, can get open, and that was a big problem for Bryce Young in that offense last year, is that they just could not get any receivers to get open, and that's something that Deontay Johnson brings to the table to that offense this year. He can get open and create an easy throw for Bryce Young this year.
I think looking back here at mine real quick and go back to my board, probably should have gone wide receiver a little bit earlier. I did not foresee the teams behind me going wide receiver that quickly. I'm probably taking Keenan Allen or Calvin Ridley. So looking back, probably would have gone one of those guys and then Pollard here.
Yeah. Those are the things you see unfold in a live draft when you're doing these. It's watching the board, kind of have an idea of how the draft's going to play out. And like Ryan McDowell mentioned earlier, it goes completely haywire, and it goes against what you're actually thinking there. But
yeah, I mean,
I'll say this: the pick that I was, he's still available in yours, so I'm not going to mention him by name.
Point to him on the board.
But on your board, I'm going to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I definitely thought about that as well. One of the reasons I think I waited on that position a little bit is I think the value is very condensed.
Yes.
At this point, which.
Yeah. All of these going off the board there. We have also in the Goose division, if you're seeing here live, got Will Levis, Calvin Ridley got the stack completed here in this division as well.
We got the West Kentucky University dance team real quick, stickers on the board. Real fun time.
Dalton Schultz just goes and you guys.
Oh, Darn it.
Is that where you were hoping to go?
Yeah, these tight ends are starting to come off the board, and I'm really eyeing the second tight end kind of around this area because you don't want to completely ignore, especially in a tight end premium, you don't want to completely ignore and wait too long at a position. But like we mentioned, there's so much of this value that's kind of getting bunched up, pushed into certain areas. It's hard to ignore.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. We got a lot of, Reverend Scott Steinberg. He plays a lot of golf.
Looking at the board, how things are kind of coming back towards me, like you mentioned, so it's Calvin Ridley there. Dalton Schultz just came off the board. Looking at a lot of the other players that are going to be available in this range and kind of seeing who might be there, guys that I might want to potentially attack.
You have a good time. I'm going to send you a video. Yeah, I think I'm falling there.
So in this in the Goose division here, TJ Hawkinson has yet to come off the board. That's one guy that I'm looking at. But I'm also scared of, obviously, of the late season ACL injury that he suffered last year. So it's probably going to push me off of him. And at this point, I'm coming at a spot in my rankings and looking at players where it's just there's a tier break there. So where Dalton Schultz is a guy that I was looking at. I feel like there's a little bit of a regression from last year where he was heavily utilized. Now you have more targets in play. But for me, he was kind of that last guy at the end of a tier. Could go Hawkinson, but not really feeling it if he's going to be available.
I mean, I don't know how long he's going to be out. If you could tell me right now he's only out 4 weeks, I'm on it.
Sure. But that's the thing. It's like how long he's going to be out, how healthy he's going to be when he comes back. Is he on a play count, snap count when he comes back? Who's to say? That's something to kind of look at here. But kind of getting into the nitty gritty here, so to speak. So the team that kind of looking here at the board. So we've got Dr. Harwood here, pick 9 in the 9th round. He's yet to take a tight end. So I think that's probably something that's heavily in play here. Looking at the board. Kind of getting into this range here.
He said he's maybe going tight end.
He's maybe going tight end.
I got my eye on 2 of them. I may go back to that. I
can't wait.
Jaden Reed in that range, who's still available in this league. But I'm still I'm not as high on him. Calvary Tajay Spears.
And I'll chat on Roman Dunze for a sec. He was definitely somebody I considered with this pick. I just think he's going to be the 3rd in the pecking order, and I don't know what role he's going to have in the offense. Now, one of those top 2 guys for the Bears goes down. He's going to be a monster, but not year one. Dynasty League, I want him all day, but that's about it.
I think I have the idea of what kind of my 2 targets are going to be coming around this time.
Okay.
I'm probably going to forego the tight end position just because like I mentioned, that there's that tier there right now that I'm just not a big fan of.
Okay. I would agree.
Well, I'm probably going to stick in that and attack the wide receivers here a couple of times.
I think where you're at, it's probably a solid build, at least with one, if not both of the picks.
Yeah. Just kind of more of a, and that's how I'm going to end my Scott Fishbowl 14 live draft event.
We're getting ready to be in the last round.
Yeah, getting into the last round. John Bosch coming in to do some more boshing.
Is it the kill Bosch?
Hello, folks. Who are we giving away now? Tony Pollard. Wait, there were nothing but Bengals fans here, right? Bengals fans, Bengals fans, Bengals fans. All right, Tony Pollard. By the way, if you have had fun, do you know what you should do? Just,
A PFF fantasy.
Baby, let's go.
Nice. Little knickknacks and giveaways that we have that are going on during the Scott Fishbowl Live event here today.
At least I got some kind of stuff for getting Tony Pollard, man.
Folks, if you are having fun at the Nashville SFB, donate. This is a charity event, people. Donate. Do not make me flip you upside down. One, that would hurt my back, and I will probably drop you. All right, Ryan ruined this one. Who else drafted Tony Pollard? Because Emily's got a throw to make. Who did? Oh, Dan Rock! Where's Dan? Emily, let's see what you got! Let's see it! Hey! Go Bengals!
So now we have Raheem Mostert comes off the board right after Dalton Schultz in the Goose division. Looking at things here. Got a couple picks in front of me.
Yeah, I made a decision.
You've made a decision.
I'm going to White Castle after this.
Hell yeah, there you go. White Castle run for Mr. Hefley on the way out of town.
He did good time.
A little bit of a reach. Not a big Pat Fryermuth fan here.
I think he would tell you right about
Pretty close in the ADP, sure. I'll give you that. So now we're gonna once the good doctor puts his pick in here, ninth pick in the 9th round. Let's get Drew on the board, see what he takes. And then I will be on the clock for the first of my 2 selections.
Can you do me a favor? You grab that thing right there for me.
You want to grab the doc out there?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Go. So,
Hold on.
So Jalen Warren comes off the board right in front of me, 3rd running back to Team Drew here, first pick, 3rd pick. Puts me on the clock, and I'm kind of looking at the board here. Steve Campbell with the shout out there. Had a blast at the Michigan Live Draft. Yes, thanks to Scott for doing this.
All right, we got another football from USF.
Yes, the graphic is covering his logo there. I'm sorry about that. But here we are on the clock.
But yes, I did. Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Congratulations.
And I think he's. Yeah, I could probably wait. I could probably wait a little bit before I make this pick on another guy that I'm looking at. But the first one, though, that I'm going to go with, coincidentally enough, is the guy that I told you to target.
Okay.
Actually, you know what?
What?
Tough here. You know, I think the way I'm looking at the board, kind of looking back over, see where some of the other players kind of come off in certain areas. First selection I think I'm going to make, I'm going to go to Minnesota. We've talked about Minnesota today. Talking about Minnesota today, Minnesota live draft for tomorrow. I'm going to go to Minnesota, and I'm going to take wide receiver Jordan Addison. Very touchdown dependent last year, so that's one thing to kind of worry about in this format. Kind of hope some of the receptions kind of come up a little bit more. I hope there's a little bit of an increase in usage here, but now we got the pick coming around the board here. Got the guy at 1. We'll make his back-to-back selections. My next pick, I'm going to take a little bit of a. I'm gonna try to inherit a little bit of risk that we talked about. Zach Moss comes off the board, first pick for that team there, followed by Ladd McConkey, rookie wide receiver of the Los Angeles Chargers. So now So, Ladd McConkey comes off the board, rookie wide receiver, Los Angeles Chargers. And now we have come to my final pick of the live portion of Scott Fish Bowl 14 Nashville. Goose Division. Like I mentioned, I think I'm going to inherit a little bit of risk here. Shoot for the moon.
What position you going with?
Stay at wide receiver.
You're getting one of the return guys.
No, I am not.
Oh, never mind.
I am not. I am going that direction.
Okay.
My wide receiver 4, Rashee Rice. Ladies and gentlemen, here, Scott Fish Bowl 14, taking Rashee Rice. Like we mentioned earlier when we were talking about Hollywood Brown, we were talking about Xavier Worthy. There's been no discussion of a suspension. It's like I was just talking. There's been no discussion of a suspension yet. The thought process is that he gets suspended. But who's to say this late in the summer that he's going to hit a suspension? And if he does not get suspended, Rashee Rice becomes one of the biggest values in fantasy football this year.
I agree. I mean, especially to use your number 4.
Absolutely.
Well, your whatever flex it would be.
That'd be
No,
right.
I think the value's great. I think round 10, I think if you put him, if he wasn't in this flex, he goes 2 to 3 rounds early. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah. And so for me, that concludes my live draft portion of the Scott Fish Bowl. So let's look, give a run through real quick. What you think? I'm 10 picks in. Build from the 2 spot in Scott Fish Bowl 14. How do you feel like this is looking?
I think it's going really good for you. I think the only other thing, I don't even know if it's necessarily missing. I think if you get another tight end in there, I think it's looking really good. I love your build from the 2 spot right now. I think you played the waiting on the wide receiver game excellently. I mean, you got double points at 2 different spots. You got the stack going on at 2 different spots there. Addison Raj, you got a lot of upside. I like the build.
Good. Yes. I'm feeling good how this is unfolded. Like he mentioned, I wish that I would have probably hit on Dallas Goedert instead of David Montgomery on that round. Now looking back on it,
I think in this format, I think Montgomery with his first down ability, I think it's going to be really good. I disagree.
But the way things usually go for me and how my thought process is and how I rank players and kind of find diamonds in the rough, so to speak, at the tight end position especially, I think there's going to be guys that I can get later on in this draft that I can get at the tight end position that can fill in and be adequate guys that I can use here at the tight end position, at tight end 2, tight end 3, however I feel like I'm building this roster out. But now we'll flip back over to the Marcellus Wallace division.
What do you think about my build so far then, since I just analyzed yours? What do you think about mine?
Like everything so far, Bijan was definitely a good get that late in the round. Obviously, the quarterbacks coming off the board the way they did, but you were able to rebound and get Kyler Murray where you did. You were able to stack Kyler Murray, which is important. Your top 2 running backs are going to be guys that should be heavily utilized in their offense, which lines up well with this particular scoring format. But I like the wide receivers you were able to get. Same thing. You waited at wide receiver, and it paid off for you as well. You were able to get guys, maybe not a bona fide wide receiver 1, but you're going to get guys that are going to be solid wide receiver 2s. Deontay Johnson, I think, is going to be a guy that's going to fluctuate in that 2-3 area because he's going to get used very often.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I would love to be able to stack up a wide receiver, mix them up, right here. But yeah, no, I'm liking the build. I'm not in love with it yet. I think if I could have gone Keenan Allen or Ridley here instead of Pollard and waited on Pollard, which I think would happen, I'd probably feel a little better.
Yeah.
Deontay, I think as a 4 would be great. Again, I'm talking 4 wide receiver there. I know we got a lot of flex spots to be able to utilize here, but so far so good. I'm feeling good about my build so far, but I think it's all coming down to, like this last year, I got Kyron Williams late. It's going to be getting who's a Kyron Williams this year.
Yes, exactly.
Who's the Puka Nacua? Who's that guy that's going to
who's that late round guy? Right. Who's the late round guy that you can get that's going to put you over the top? Absolutely. As we put a bow on this and kind of wrap things up for the Scott Fish Bowl Live here in Nashville, shoot us a comment. Throw a comment in there. Let us know how you feel about the draft so far. And looking at the board, studying the boards that we've got that we're covering during this draft, we know some guys that you really like how they're pulling. The build is, shout them out, let us know what you think. We definitely appreciate that.
Congratulations, sir. You will give an incredible applause for Brandon Murchison. 2 items here to wrap it up. And that is all. Do you have any questions? Hit me up. Scan the QR code around on these tables, on the donations, and we'll get you
donations.
The last round of the drafts on the Scott Fish Bowl 14 Live will conclude after the round is complete. Thank you very much.
Now we show you things, Travis.
So as we get to the end of the live stream, looks like I'm going to be donating an additional $50 to Fantasy Cares today. So once we complete this live stream, I'll go over here. If you've kind of heard the background, we've got QR codes around here to go through to do the donation. I'll scan a QR code. I'll throw in my additional $50 to Fantasy Cares today. for all the additional YouTube signups to the Woo Fantasy YouTube page. So, been a great day. Enjoyed it. It's been a fun atmosphere here in Nashville. We've had a good time here at the Tailgate Brewery.
Live on Music Row. We're glad we can bring it to you. This third year in a row we've done this. So,
Yes.
So glad to be able to chat with everybody out there, meet some of the guys here at the draft. You know, people that you see their names on Twitter all the time, but actually getting a chance to meet them in person is great. So this is what it's all about.
Yes. I've been trying to meet Ryan McDowell for quite a while now. Definitely, it's been a highlight of the day for me. I really, really like what Ryan McDowell does out there.
Oh, man.
Daniel Jones.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I would. We will see you there. SBFFC.com, ladies and gentlemen. That is the high-stakes draft that we do that's based out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. So if you're interested in the area of Bowling Green, Kentucky, within driving distance, it's a fantastic event we put on up there. High-stakes draft, one of the best high-stakes drafts you'll find on this side of, outside of Vegas, honestly. So if you're interested at all, or you just want to check into it and see what it looks like, go check that out. SBFFC.com. Taking sign-ups for that event currently. We draft on Friday night. We do the main event on Saturday. All kinds of different formats are available for you there. It's super flex draft, auction draft. We do all kinds of stuff during that weekend. So any interest there at all, go check it out, sbffc.com. But getting down towards the final pick for Nick.
That was going to be my guy here in a little bit.
No, I was not expecting Daniel Jones.
Rashee Rice goes. I was hoping to make it back.
His wide receiver 5. Stumpy takes. That's wide receiver 5 for Stumpy there. Solid pick there. Does not have a tight end yet, so you have to wonder if the draft has kind of really failed him in terms of grabbing his tight end. So that's something to kind of keep in mind there. The team following him as well also does not have a tight end. You have to wonder if you're putting too much more precedence in other guys at other positions that might not score well in the format, but you're grabbing them because you're used to drafting them in normal drafts, like your underdog drafts and things like that, like I mentioned at the top of this podcast. And there we go, Dalton Schultz, first tight end off the board for that team there, Avalanche. So we got one more pick in front of you. We're going to let you do your last pick here live on the stream here with Woo Fantasy live here.
Nashville. You must sound like you could be slightly drunk, even though I know you don't drink.
Yes, not.
Woo!
Boy, fantasy. My voice is going to be grateful to take a rest.
We appreciate you doing this, man. You've been on for a hot freaking minute here.
We're 3 hours and 17 minutes into the stream.
Non-stop talking.
Good. I would appreciate it if everybody give me a tip of the cap, a high five out there on the YouTube. Powering through this today. Doing it for you guys. Love the fact that y'all are involved and watching, checking everything out here with this live stream with the Blue Fantasy Podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Cares. Scott Fishbowl 14. So now that does finally put you on the clock, right? Rashee Rice, Dalton Schultz, Roma Dunes, they all come off the board right in front of you. What are you thinking here? What's that thought process?
Probably going. I'm going at the flex. Is definitely what I'm going to continue going.
Sure.
My phone hasn't updated. That's the wrong app. Really, it's the best player available. I think at flex is it's continued to be. And here, hopefully, it'll update, and it did. Sweet. I'm going to continue to go to best available player. So I've got 3 running backs. I've got 3 receivers. So probably one of those positions. Tight end is a consideration, although I don't necessarily like any of the guys.
Yeah, I don't like much there.
Including my own Bears, Cole Kmet. right here.
I know where I'm going if I'm in your position.
Where are you going? Where are you going in my position?
I'm going wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I like this guy that's going to take a second-year progression. And that'll be Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily like JSN this year. Just clicking through some of the guys here. Somehow I've never marked yet. Okay.
The suspense is killing me, ladies and gentlemen.
Going through on the rankings here and just making sure, again, you got to make sure you're not missing anybody. It's like, why am I looking at this guy and why is he there? Chris Godwin, who I had gotten up, got double tapped, and I was like, wait a minute, that should not be. I think we're definitely going wide receiver for sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's really between. I'd say Sutton is potentially a target here for me. D-Hop, a little bit older, 32, JSN, Christian Watson. Trying to figure
so
out
much
where I
upside.
go.
There's so much upside between JSN and Christian Watson. Target share, when on the field and healthy, is the clear-cut number one wide receiver for the Packers.
I think I like that a little bit. That's where we're going.
And that's where he's going to go, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps him up. That would be Christian Watson in his non-asymmetrical hamstrings is the final pick today for Nick Hefley, the real FF GOAT, here from Scott Fishbowl Live, Nashville, Tennessee. About to finish up today's live stream and podcast. Definitely great to have you guys on, like I mentioned. Going to get everything finished up. Then outside of that, Nick is done for the day. I am done for the day. And I do want to just point out again before we get off here, for all you drafters that are out there, currently Marvin Mims and Taysom Hill off the board here in round 10. Marvin Mims, another one of those returner guys that we talked about, the guy, a name to kind of keep in mind, watch for because of the scoring format. He's going to take the kick and punt returns, but does he get any additional work in the offense under Sean Payton this year in year 2? Brian Thalty Robinson.
I couldn't see the name. It almost looked like Mike Allstott for a second this winter in ours. I don't think that was the case.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it.
But from that, we're going to end things up today. That way we kind of be able to kind of talk to some of the people more before we leave out for the day. But outside of that, I'm going to give everybody a sign off here from today. Go sign up for the Woo Fantasy Podcast on YouTube. Please do that. Help us out there. But Nick Hefley at The Real FF GOAT on Twitter. Myself at Roto Superstar on Twitter. Go follow us at Woo_Fantasy as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we're signing off from Nashville. Woo! Fantasy!